Logtown, a restaurant. So, the Golden Lion has been taken care of by you? Zephyr looked at Luffy, who was feasting, and asked. Luffy nodded, briefly reporting the status quo. Hearing this, Tashigi looked surprised. Straw Hat Luffy, did you come back to East Blue from New World on purpose to protect East Blue in this town? Who is the pirate and who is the marine? She has a sense of confusion. Hey, Glasses Girl, why did you leave Marine too? How is your old boss, Smokeman? Luffy was very curious about this. I'm not called Glasses Girl, I'm Tashigi. Can you call someone by their name properly? Tashigi pushed his glasses and said angrily. Ha ha ha, Luffy, little Tashigi is my student. Garp laughed and said, I knew First was leaving Marine, so I followed along. As for Smoker, that guy doesn't know how to hockey, he suffered a lot in Summit War. Now maybe where to practice, disciple? Luffy suddenly thought of Kirby. Speaking of which, Kirby was not seen in Summit War, is that kid still in Shield's town? As for Belmeber, he was sent to Wangchen early in the morning, and the father and son were reunited. This world needs young people. New Marine can't just rely on our old bones, Garp grinned. The old man will train her to be admiral. Puff. Luffy just took a sip of clear soup, and couldn't help spraying Tashigi's face. Admiral? Tashigi took off her glasses silently, she was ashamed of Garp's wild words. Can't you? Do you have any dissatisfaction? In order to recover the famous swords scattered in the hands of villains, I will work 10 times harder than ordinary people. Shin still couldn't help saying this. 10 times is not enough. 200 times is about the same. Luffy couldn't help complaining, pulled out a tissue and handed it to her. Sorry, I was so shocked. Hard, fist hard. It's true, but it's annoying. Tashigi took the tissue, and had no intention of rebutting. Don't get me wrong, I'm an investor in New Marine, and I'm the father of the funder, so pay a little attention to my investment projects. Luffy smiled and said, Grandpa, what are you going to do after you get the money? How to do it? In short, let's build a few warships first. Garp answered very frankly. That is, there is no plan. It's not like someone who thinks about plans, after all, Garp solves problems with his fists. Zephyr said, there are plans, Luffy, tell me the story. We want to protect people who were not protected by Marine in the past. Zephyr sighed. In this world, there are still many countries that cannot pay the sky money and cannot become a member of the world government. World government has more than 170 affiliated countries, accounting for more than half of all countries. Behind the seemingly beautiful, there are still nearly half of the non-member countries that have not received any protection. This is of course, you can only accept protection if you pay money. Even justice depends on the price. Then where does your money come from? Luffy couldn't help asking. The next moment, everyone's eyes fell on him. Luffy was speechless. Co-authoring this is a bottomless pit, so let me keep paying? Even if he had more than 1,000 tons of usable gold, he couldn't bear such consumption. I think what you need now is not admiral, but to solve the problem of money. Justice also needs to be fed. Speaking of money, Luffy suddenly thought of someone. Golden Emperor. Paramecia Golden Fruit ability user. He is the big boss behind the world's largest entertainment city, Gulan Tezzolo. It is rumored that this person holds 20% of the money in circulation in the world. This is the real rich and powerful country, black and white take both, and power spreads all over the world, even the celestial dragons can't easily move him. Garp grinned, Luffy, what the hell did you think? The money problem seems to be solved, let's talk about it later, anyway, you don't need so much money now. Luffy shook his head and said, then what? Is this what the plan is? It's not so much a plan as a long-term goal. I want to know more specifics. Don't treat me as an outsider. I'm an investor. To fool me, also come up with some decent PPT. It's too much, I have never seen such a fool to investors, even refused to make a PPT. Who will give you money except me, who has been taken for a ride? Zephyr didn't know what to say. He and Garp left Marine because of their dissatisfaction with the world government, without thinking too much about it. At this time, softly, Your Excellency Luffy, with your financial support, we will first build a few warships, and then enter the New World. While cleaning up the pirates, we will capture the stolen money of the pirates and grow ourselves little by little. To feed war with war? Aren't you afraid of encountering hard stubble, and then being wiped out by a wave? You know, most of the pirates in New World are people under the command of a certain 4 emperors. However, at least it is better than not planning before. Choosing New World is also an act of innocence. The Sea of Paradise is the sphere of influence of the world government, and only in the New World can it have a chance to grow. In the original story, Zephyr defected from Marine and founded Neo Marine with the main purpose of revenge. Although it is New Marine, like New Marine, the goal is completely different. Probably because of the addition of Garp, Zephyr has not completely lost his pursuit of justice. Thinking of this, Luffy swept away the food on the table, and then took a leisurely sip of tea. I invested in this money. Hearing this, Ain and Tashigi breathed a sigh of relief. If they can't get the 10 tons of gold, they really don't know where to get the cost of building warships. Tashigi stared darkly at Luffy. Although this guy's words are a bit annoying, but the way he pays is really handsome. But a sudden turning point made the two of them nervous again. Luffy laughed. 10 tons of gold was on my Sunny, and now my navigator drove away to deal with the remnants of the Golden Lion. Zephyr said in a deep voice, if the remnants, you've already dealt with the Golden Lion, leave the rest to us. Logtown, a remote bar in the daytime field. Roger hacked his opponent to death at that time, and it was from here that his legendary experience finally unfolded. The owner of the bar is very old, standing behind the bar and talking about the legendary life of Roger the One Piece. Frankie drank the coke, and let out a moan in the dumb. Hey, boss, why is the version I know different from what you said? Humph, you know what a fart, I just watched Roger become the One Piece bit by bit. The boss dismissed him. What others tell you is absolutely not as true as what I said. It was Roger who told me. Frankie grinned. When I was a child, I met Roger, and he wanted to pull me on the boat. Of course I refused. #T. He thought he was already good at bragging, but he didn't expect to meet his opponent today. This is unbearable. Before he could speak, Frankie was startled suddenly. Frankie, bring that subordinate of the Golden Lion over, I'm in. Luffy? Frankie immediately got up from the bar and slapped 1,000 Baileys on the table. Sorry boss, I have something to do, let's listen to Roger's story next time. After speaking, he grabbed the unconscious man behind him and quickly walked out of the bar. The owner of the bar felt uncomfortable for a while. Damn it, don't run away. Dining room. Luffy, man I brought. After Frankie walked in, he saw a group of sailors, and Yi Shi was taken aback. What's going on? My own people. Luffy looked down at the captive in Frankie's hands. This person is yesterday's survivor, who was caught by Zoro when he was cleaning the battlefield, and was originally Golden Lion's right-hand man. Dr. Indigo, ship doctor and combatant. This person knows the layout of the Golden Lion, and where the remnants have gone. You can find out from this person. Hearing this, Garp stood up immediately, and said with a serious face. Let's go then, Zephyr. Well, time is life, and those remnants must be dealt with as soon as possible. Zephyr stood up and grabbed Dr. Indigo. Garp turned back and said, Little Tashigi, Little Ain, and Bins, the three of you will stay here and wait to receive the gold. It was about 10 tons of gold, so he chose to let all 3 capable men stay here to ensure that the gold would not go wrong. Yes, sir. Soon, Garp left with his people. Frankie came over now, and said with a puzzled look, What's going on, Luffy? I also want to know. Luffy smiled helplessly. How did a good pirate become an investor in a new marine? If Garp really makes this marine look good, does he really deserve to be a marshal? Of course, he didn't have any expectations. Just pay to listen to it and have fun with Garp. Just thinking about it, Tashigi's eyes trembled, and he asked in a low voice, Straw Hat Luffy, gold. When will your gold ship return? Almost. Luffy leaned against the back of the chair, put his legs on the dining table, rubbed his shoulders, and frowned. I had a fight with Golden Lion yesterday, and I feel a little uncomfortable. If someone can give me a squeeze, Sunny might be back soon. I really want to strangle this bad man. Tashigi gritted his lower lip, silently walked behind him, reached out and pinched his shoulders. Is this strength coming back soon? It's almost there. How about this? Ha ha ha, the service attitude is not good, glasses girl. Luffy laughed, and couldn't stand a funny woman. He stood up and said to Frankie, when Nami comes back, let her give them the gold. Luffy, what are you going to do? Frankie understood. Luffy went straight to the outside of the restaurant. A faint voice echoed in the restaurant. Go back to the world government and don't increase the strength of the group of celestial dragons. They don't seem to know what it means to stop. The stars above the execution square in Logue Town suddenly disappeared. This caused a bit of commotion, but the citizens who hadn't watched the show quickly dispersed. No one knows that the huge artificial moon is heading towards the holy land of Marie Joyce. The Knights of God are chasing me. Standing on the small artificial moon, Luffy remembered what Garp reminded him half a month ago. That's right. Knights guarding the celestial dragons. Didn't stay in the Holy Land honestly. Is typing too long? It doesn't make sense. Leaving the Holy Land unguarded, chasing him all over the world? Who do you look down on? Do you think the Holy Land is too safe? With the intention of giving the celestial dragons a little intensity, Luffy headed from Logue Town in East Blue, toward Marie Joy's. Almost halfway across the planet. Even with his flying speed, it was already dark when he came over the Holy Land. Simply this place is easy to find, and there is no need to record pointers for guidance. Now, late at night, Mariajoy is brightly lit. Electricity is a rare source of energy in this world, but for the celestial dragons who dwell in holy places, it is cheap. There are countless slaves to generate electricity for them, and the human power consumption is only a little bit of food. In the prison under the Holy Land, the slaves tirelessly stepped on the electric car, burning their lives to light up the night of celestial dragons. Fall. Luffy waved his hand down, and the artificial moon under his feet fell towards Marie Joy's. It was in free fall, and the flames generated by the friction of the atmosphere made this huge sphere with a diameter of more than 1,000 meters suddenly illuminate the night sky. At the same time, in Pengu City, the faces of the 5 elders who were about to rest changed. There's something. Something fell from the sky. Enemy attack? Revolutionary Army? The only enemy that can be thought of is the Revolutionary Army. Wearing a white robe and holding a sword, Qiwuhai is the god of finance. The knife he never leaves his hand is one of only 12 supreme fast knives in the world, first generation Gush. Standing up and walking to the window, Nasi Shou Langsheng's face was solemn. In the night sky, a huge fireball from the solar disk descended from the sky. Let that kind of thing fall down, and this place will be razed to the ground. Opening the window, he flew towards the sky in a single leap. The right hand gripped the hilt, and Haki's power wrapped around the blade. The blade flashed. The pitch-black slash suddenly soared into the sky. The artificial small moon with a diameter of more than 1 kilometer was cut into 2 sections in an instant under this knife. However, Nasi Shoulong Shengsong did not wait for his breath. In the higher sky, Luffy, who completely concealed his breath, watched this scene silently. Can be dubbed the title of God of War, 5 Elders naturally has a good combat power. It is expected that the attack that can cut him apart. No point, he stretched out his right hand through the air, and grasped the 5 fingers in the air. Immediately, the star body that was cut in half would have fallen outside the Holy Land, into Qiwuhai. At this moment, he changed direction abruptly and continued towards Marie Joy's. What? Shang Nasi Shoulong was startled, and immediately reacted, someone is manipulating. Before he had time to think about it, he quickly slashed 9 knives. In an instant, the artificial little moon cracked. It was neatly cut into smaller pieces. But even so, the wreckage of these artificial small moons still descends towards the Holy Land without stopping. In the night sky, it seems to have become a meteor cluster. Boom. When the first wreckage fell on the Holy Land, the fire burst into the sky in an instant. Shock waves destroy surrounding houses. But this was only the beginning. More wreckage ignited the night sky of the Holy Land, and for a while, it was like day. Boom, boom, boom. The wreckage of the small moon fell from the sky, bombarding the town of Marie Joy's one after another. The Holy Land is attacked. When the huge roar resounded, everyone realized the seriousness of the problem. In the town, celestial dragons questioned, "What happened? What the hell happened? It's a shooting star. No, it's an attacker. Who the hell? Why didn't the Knights of God warn? It's not clear yet. The dialogue is the last dialogue in life." Boom. A wreck happened to land on the head of the celestial dragons, took him away on the spot, and sent him to the underworld to meet his ancestors. The shock wave swept across, countless houses were collapsing, wailing was everywhere, and flames shot into the sky. Pengu City, between the powers, the remaining 4-5 elders were livid. Damn it, who is it? Mariajoy was attacked by the enemy. Such a gaffe, Lord, I am to blame. The last time I was attacked was 200 years ago. Unforgivable. The attacker must be killed. Angry 5 elders walked out of the room of power one after another. At the same time, Kuang, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, also came to the town for the first time. What came into view were the celestial dragons fleeing for their lives, and the large number of meteorite debris above the heads of the fleeing celestial dragons. Quick! Come to me! Kuang roared in a deep voice. The attackers are attacking indiscriminately. Come to me and you'll be fine. Saying so, he jumped up and punched a falling wreck. Boom. The huge wreckage of hundreds of meters was smashed into powder under his punch. On the other side, in the depths of the town, 3 members of the Knights of God also reacted one after another. They spread out individually, starting to be human. It doesn't matter who the enemy is for now, the important thing is to rescue the celestial dragons. Each of them comes from a different family, so to save someone at this time, of course, first save the members of your own family. The top of a bell tower. Nasi Shou Langsheng's face was extremely ugly. The trick of the capable person. Even if I cut it into smaller pieces, those things will still fall accurately into the town. It's for the celestial dragons. Moreover, the other party has indeed succeeded. The 200 years of peace have caused the Holy Land security forces to be negligent a lot. Especially nowadays, the members of the 6 knights are sent abroad. Who the hell? Gritting his teeth, observation Haki spread rapidly, covering the entire Holy Land, but found nothing. Confusion. There was chaos everywhere. There is no way to find out the attacker. Over the Holy Land, because of the location of about 2,000 meters. Luffy stood out of nowhere, silently watching Marie Joyce in distress. It didn't seem like many celestial dragons were killed. Only 30 or 40. The reaction was too fast. Only the initial first wave did kill some celestial dragons. After the Holy Land responded, celestial dragons were immediately protected. At this time, in his perception, there were so many powerful auras in the Holy Land that he was surprised. 5 elders. Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, former Marine Marshal Kuang. Member of the Knights of God. Marine Vice Admiral level characters, all have at least one solitary. I didn't notice Im's breath. Luffy thought with some regret. The effect of compressing the dozen or so islands of the Golden Lion into a small moon and directly smashing it down is not very good. The hardness of the compressed little moon is comparable to steel, but this is meaningless. Pure kinetic impact, except for destroying the town of Marie Joyce, has limited real lethality. Should have given it the power of shock fruit at the time. Maybe it could smash the city into pieces. Forget it, come back next time. Luffy takes one last look at Marie Joyce. With this experience, you will be able to do better next time and be more prepared. Not enough for one little moon? That's 10. 10 is not enough, 20. There are many islands in this world, and uninhabited islands are even more numerous. His ammunition depot is unlimited, but the number of celestial dragons is limited. Even if there is no island, he can still use the red line as a weapon. Gone. The moment he turned around and was about to leave, Luffy's eyes froze suddenly. In the darkness, a tentacle suddenly hit him. Observation Haki has no early warning, predicting the situation that will not be seen in the future. In an instant, he entered Nika form. The body shifted slightly at an angle, and the tentacles almost passed his chest. And the location it aimed at was impressively the heart. Avoided? In the darkness, a voice sounded. Luffy stared intently, and soon found the target. The man wore a crown of spikes, and a long cloak, and his eyes were blood red in the dark, similar to the eyes of the eagle's eye. I am. Although it was the first time they met, Luffy immediately judged that this person was I Am. King of the celestial dragons who ruled the world for 800 years. At this time, a pitch-black tentacle protruding from its back quickly retracted. Knowledge kills. Luffy soon discovers that her own future doesn't work for this man. Similarly, the opponent cannot predict his actions. If he could do that, he wouldn't have dodged the sneak attack just now. I Am didn't speak, and stared at Luffy with red eyes playfully. In the dark, Luffy couldn't see Im's appearance clearly, only knew that I Am was floating in the sky just like him. What abilities? Holding a tentative idea, Luffy punched King Doki. Boom. The atmosphere cracked, and the power of the vibration went straight towards I Am. I Am not dodging or avoiding. At this moment, Tensong Zong's extremely dark demonic tentacles extended from behind him. Those tentacles blocked the force of the vibration, and then grabbed towards Luffy. Luffy felt a little doubt in his heart, his body flashed, and while quickly avoiding the black tentacles, he quickly moved towards I Am. Conqueror's Twine. A punch pierced through Im's body. It was like a puddle of ink. After being dispersed, it turned into wisps of black smoke and disappeared in a blink of an eye. Phantom? Logia? While thinking, Luffy suddenly looked down. It was discovered. If it really makes a movement, it will still be discovered. In perception, 5 elders, Kong and others all came towards him. Ha ha ha, now is not the time to fight with you. Luffy grinned, looked at I Am who had regained his form, and disappeared into the sky in a flash of white light. A mocking voice echoed in the night sky. I just came over to say hello and give you a little moon. If you like it, I will bring a few more next time. Goodbye. In a blink of an eye, The white light has gone far away. Im's blood-red eyes kept staring at the direction where he disappeared, and he didn't chase after him, and of course he couldn't catch up. Just watch quietly. It wasn't until he was completely invisible that he murmured to himself in a low voice. Joey boy. The figure dissipated like a phantom. I'm lost. Under the night sky, Luffy galloped all the way towards East Blue Lobe Town. I just flew for a while, and suddenly felt something was wrong. It seems to have flown into the calm belt, and the atmosphere is so quiet that it seems to be stagnant, almost not flowing. It seems the direction is reversed. Luffy was silent for a moment. Because of Im's appearance, he blocked the direction he came from, causing him to fly in the direction of New World for several hours. However, it's not a big problem. The planet is round after all. It doesn't matter which direction you fly from. Compared to this, what kind of capable person is I am? Along the way, he was thinking about this question, recalling the details of the fight. He is a capable person, he can be sure. As for whether it is Logia or a phantom beast, it is still impossible to judge. It's a pity, that's his lair. You can try it during the day, but forget about it at night. During the day, he has unlimited physical strength. Even if he is besieged, he can slowly consume it. It's not good at night. Once you get into trouble, you might be left behind. Shaking his head, he temporarily put Im's replay aside. Now is not the time to start a war with the opponent. Throwing the little moon at the Holy Land is something like that, and I will do it a few more times in the future. All the way without words. Luffy lowered the altitude and flew close to the sea for a long time. When the first ray of sunlight appeared, he finally saw an island. Is that Wanakuna's island? Luffy thought in surprise. The island in the distance is located in a special current, and the entire island is much higher than the sea level. It does not have the coast of an ordinary island, only cliffs and waterfalls around it. This is a big island, is it? I will know right away. Luffy activated the power of the sunshine fruit, and while recovering his strength, he headed towards the distant island. After leaping over the waterfall, he saw Zhang Yanghai. Continue to go deeper and finally see the beach. When he kept his feet on the ground, the prompts of the system came as soon as he encountered them. The new island you landed on Wano-kuni, reward 10,000 Adventure City workers. Adventure coin. 351,625. It really is Wano-kuni. This is a powerful country in the New World, and it is also a closed country. It is not a member country of the world government, and it is very difficult for ships to come here. If you don't go through formal channels, you can only climb the waterfall, or fly up directly like him. As you can tell from the name, this is a very Japanese country. The current ruler of the country is called Kurozumi Orochi. Of course, just the general on the surface, behind him, as Kaido of the Beasts, one of the 4 emperors. This is the stronghold of the Beasts pirates, the domain of the 4 emperors Kaido. This place is not good. In a closed country, there is no way to find anyone to ask for directions. Islands that even newsbirds don't come to, don't even think about such things as sea charts. After thinking for a while, Luffy immediately climbed to the height and looked down from the sky. He had an impression of Wanakuna's terrain. The country is divided into 6 regions. The capital is called the Capital of Flowers, and it is located in the most prosperous core area in the center, while the other 5 major areas surround the capital. In addition to the main island, there is an outlying island in the south of the island. It's called Ghost Island. There is the real stronghold of the Beasts pirates. Since you want to ask for directions, just ask Kaido. After flying to a sufficient height, Luffy immediately headed towards Ghost Island. At the same time, Wano-kuni South Outlying Island, Island of Ghosts. The top floor of the skeleton castle. Kaido drank tons of alcohol. Suddenly, a person looked like a flying squirrel, directly smashed open the wooden door, and flew in. She is petite, with a piece of paper with glasses pattern on her face, wearing a kimono-style skirt, with a fan on her back, and a pair of blue shoes on her bare feet. It hurt so bad, he bumped his head against the wall behind Kaido. Kaido stopped drinking and his face darkened. What are you doing, Royalist? Beasts Pirates Pillar, Secretary Kaido, Royalist. She took a newspaper and hurriedly handed it to Kaido, saying, Master Kaido, there is a big event in the news I just got from the sea. Kaido was in a bad mood, the corners of his mouth sank, he grabbed the newspaper, and glanced at him while drinking. The movement of drinking suddenly stopped. Oh he, this kid is really interesting. He couldn't help grinning. The original boring world has become a little more interesting. The content on the news is enough to shock the whole world. Straw Hat Luffy raids the Sanctuary Marie Joys, 39 celestial dragons himself. Shijing's newspaper reported what happened late last night to the whole world as soon as possible. This man is really crazy. Balwang expressed shock at the side. How dare he go to the Holy Land to kill people? The newspaper said that he seems to have run away. After a pause, he chattered again. The last time something like this happened was when the Murloc adventurer Fisher Tiger climbed up the Red Line with his bare hands 13 years ago, liberating slave, but that guy is not capable of killing even one celestial dragons. Kaido narrowed his eyes and said, the last time was more than half a month ago, the Saboti Archipelago incident. Ah. That's right, it's not the first time this guy has done something like this. He must have a grudge against the celestial dragons. Bao Huang nodded his head. I even thought about it in my heart. Now that Whitebeard is dead, this man will probably soon be the new 4 emperors. What he lacks is probably just a proof battle with the veteran 4 emperors. HMPH, funny boy, I like it very much, huh? Kaido grinned. Seeing such news early in the morning, he felt a little better. Suddenly, he frowned and looked up at the ceiling. In the knowledgeable perception, a strong breath broke into his territory without any disguise. No, that's not called barefaced, that's conquerors released on purpose. Kaido. A voice resounded over the ghost island. Who is this Haki? Bao Huang was taken aback. She was horrified to find that the tables and chairs in the room were shaking slightly. Ooh, whoever has this kind of Haki. Kaido squeezed hard, and with a bang, the jug shattered into pieces in his hands. The next moment, his head suddenly turned into a dragon's head, his neck stretched rapidly, and he got out of the window. In a blink of an eye, a green dragon with a body of hundreds of meters, even close to 1,000 meters, hovered over the skeleton castle. Kaido stared at the man standing in front of him who was also standing out of thin air. A man in a straw hat. Just saw it on the news. It's you, Straw Hat Boy, Qinglong said, narrowing his eyes, are you here for a fight? Luffy smiled slightly. Come and ask for directions. Kaido fell silent. Go back in time a little. While Luffy lost his way to Wano-kuni, the other side, the holy land of Marie Joyce ushered in the morning first. After the disaster last night, half of the holy land was reduced to ruins, and countless people were killed or injured. Medical staff carried stretchers and rescued the wounded one by one. Numerous slaves in shackles were whipped and swept the ruins. At the entrance of the town, the eyes of the 5 elders were gloomy, and 39 corpses lay quietly in a row. The 5 people who hadn't slept all night had extremely ugly faces. Is that all there is? Science Defense Valkyrie, Satan asked in a deep voice. A middle-aged man wearing sunglasses and a suit of justice stepped forward a few steps. His codename is Dark Horse, the director of the Marine Crime Investigation Bureau. Reported at this time, the number of celestial dragons confirmed dead is 39, and there are even more injured people who are currently receiving medical treatment. It cannot be ruled out. I didn't say anything later, but the meaning has been conveyed. The possibility of dying in the hospital bed is not ruled out. That is to say, the death toll will increase further. 5 elders holding a sword, Nasi Sholong Sheng raised his forehead with a headache. What a loss of composure. 200 years ago, that giant robot failed to cause such damage. The youngest blonde 5 elders, Peter's face was silent. At this time, the Black Horse said again, while clearing the wreckage, a strange thing was found. The Dark Horse made people move things over. When the 5 elders saw what was brought in, their faces changed drastically. It wasn't something, it was a corpse, a squashed corpse. The face and facial features were all distorted, and the flesh and bones of the body were shrunk into a ball. When we first found it, the body was just a ball, and now it looks like it has been cleaned up. The Black Horse said calmly, he appeared along with the meteorite last night. After repeated identification, it was confirmed that it was Golden Lion Shiki. What? The 5 elders were all taken aback. The next thing is speculation. The Black Horse pushed the sunglasses on the bridge of his nose, and said concisely, last night's attacker, Straw Hat Luffy, killed Golden Lion Shiki and robbed his lion fruit, thus planning this operation. After a pause, he continued, as for why the attacker is presumed to be a Straw Hat, it is because this person has killed 3 celestial dragons in the Sabayati archipelago, and at the same time, the other party has also demonstrated the power of shock fruit, so it is unreasonable for him to possess with multiple devil fruit abilities. Since it can possess the ability of the second type of fruit shock fruit, then it is reasonable to infer the power of the third type of lion fruit. Moreover, judging from the fact that the original ability user died before and after, the other party has some kind of means to obtain the fruit ability from the ability user's corpse. It's hard to believe, But that's the conclusion of one night's investigation. Finally, Dark Horse concluded. The 5 elders were silent. They are not surprised that the attacker is Luffy the Straw Hat. As early as last night, they met IM, and they had already learned about it from Mr. IM. What they don't know is that with the Golden Lion, Straw Hat Luffy has gained another tricky ability. And there are 3 types now, so what about in the future? What else will I get? How did you do it again? Rubber Fruit has no such ability. At this moment, the 5 elders felt intense fear. Suddenly, a soldier came over and reported beside the Black Horse. Master Dark Horse, this. The news from Shijing just now. The Black Horse took it casually, and was stunned for a while. Impossible, he said subconsciously. What happened to the news? Pete Street, the youngest of the blonde 5 elders, asked with a frown. News. Of last night's events. Dark Horse's tone was full of puzzlement and disbelief, and he handed the newspaper to 5 elders with a bad guess in his mind. Straw Hat Luffy raids Marie Joy's, 39 celestial dragons killed. The content of the headlines on the front page came into view, and 5 elders was furious. How is this going? Even we have only confirmed the situation. Why did the world classics appear in the newspapers? Dark Horse, you'd better give an explanation. Hearing the question, Dark Horse's heart sank. It's strange that there are spies. If not a spy, what else? Among the people of the World Economic News Agency, is there someone with the ability to predict the future? Go and find out. Judicial Valkyrie, Mustache 5 elders, Saint Vouchery scolded angrily. Yes. The Black Horse saluted and turned to leave. As the director of the Marine Criminal Investigation Bureau, this is his job. It is a blessing among misfortunes that he was not sent to prison on the spot for such a major information leak. As soon as he left, Sa Tanshang said with dark eyes. You bastard Morgas, haven't you caught his tail yet? The agents of the CP organization and the Knights of the Gods have been dispatched, but so far, they have not caught each other. That Birdman is as cunning as a loach, and he probably knows that his behavior will anger the world government. He is either running or preparing to run every day. I'll contact him directly. Environmental Marshal God, old man with goatee, Masheng took out a black phone bug and dialed a number. After a while, there was a sound that made them gnash their teeth. Hey, this is the headquarters of Shijing. I'm Morgans, now that I know. It's me. The other side was silent for a moment, then put on a friendly tone. Oh my, it's Lord 5 Elders. It's really rare. Do you have any instructions for contacting me? I will obey your instructions obediently. How did you know about the news this morning? Some enthusiastic people provided information, and I am also a journalist with professional ethics, so I dare not reveal my true identity. Explain. Mosh Sheng's tone was angry. Morgans laughed a few times. It's the information provided by an enthusiastic celestial dragons. There are morals, but not much. Simply sell people. Celestial dragons? The 5 elders glanced at each other, thinking of a troublesome character at the same time. Damn Doflamingo. Masheng took a deep breath and said, since it has been published in the newspaper, it is too late to redeem it. In this case, Morgas, print a new news immediately. Do you understand? At the same time, New World, surrounded by the sky above the sea. Morgans put down the phone bug, and immediately ordered to his subordinates, change the course immediately. I don't want to be tracked by the government people based on the radio waves. Yes, Lord Morgas. After arranging the action, Morgas sat at her desk, with a feather hand playing with the pen in her hand. Kakaka. Suddenly, the machine on the side rang, and then a press release was sent over. 5 billion? It's already comparable to Whitebeard's original reward. Ha 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 ha. After reading the content of the press release, Morgas couldn't help but let out a cheerful laugh. With such a high bounty, is it already 4 emperors? There is no territory in New World, and the strength of the subordinates cannot compete with other 4 emperors. The thieves are shoulder to shoulder, but a straw hat can be the emperor alone. He quickly took the pen and began to revise the press release with oil and vinegar. Grand Line, Calm Belt, Daughter Island, Amazon Lily. The 2 figures went ashore one after another, not going to the front port. Rayleigh took off his shirt and twisted it, then chuckled and said, it's too much for me to swim here when I'm old. The ship was thrown beyond the calm belt. Compared to his wet body, Shoki's clothes were dry, except for some water stains on his buttocks. After all, riding across the calm belt on the back of a man who writes Rayleigh and reads Mount, she still gets a little wet on her ass. At this time, Shaki was holding a newspaper and a lady's cigarette dangling from his mouth. Little monkey really, does the unexpected. Run to the Holy Land and make a big fuss, ha ha ha, Sometimes it's exactly the same as Roger, very good at messing around. Rayleigh laughed twice. Roger wouldn't do such a thing, does he have the guts? Little monkey is the best. Shaki said with admiration. Rayleigh, you stay here and don't run around. You know the rules of Daughter's Island. I'm going to meet little Hancock. Better bring back some food. Just dig some wild vegetables and fruits to fill your stomach. Saying so, Shaki quickly disappeared from sight. Rayleigh silently took out the small wine jug that he carried with him, and when he wanted to take a sip to warm his stomach, only a drop of wine dripped from the jug. 9 snakes. Hancock sat on the Emperor's throne, with his legs together, his elbows on his knees, his hands on his cheeks, his eyes staring blankly ahead without focus. Sister. The 2 younger sisters looked at each other very disrespectfully. It's been like this every day since I came back. That bad boy. What magic power does brother-in-law have? Suddenly, a light music came. Little Hancock, Little Mary, Little Sonia. Hearing the familiar voice, the 3 sisters were all startled, and looked up out of the window. I saw Shaki flipping in deftly. Shaki? Hancock finally recovered, his face full of surprise. The former emperor, the captain of the last generation of 9 snake pirates, and also the savior of the 3 sisters. Shaki, why are you back? Sonia said in surprise. Oops, little Hancock's man. Little monkey's making a fuss at the Saboti archipelago and my bar is exposed. Shaki was also very helpless. She handed the newspaper in her hand to Hancock, and said with a smile, the news about little monkey, you should really want to read it. Luffy's? Hancock regained his energy in an instant, and opened the newspaper with great anticipation to read it. After looking at it, he was stunned. The big eyeballs were tearful, and the tears fell down. Sister. Marigold was startled, and immediately walked over to look at the newspaper, his face paled in shock. What? That bad? Brother-in-law ran to the Holy Land to kill the celestial dragons. Sonia was taken aback when she heard this, and quickly came over. Both sisters were stunned. Shaki crossed his chest with one hand, held a lady's cigarette in one hand, and said softly, didn't you guys watch the news last time? During the Saboti archipelago, Little Monkey also killed 3 celestial dragons. Hearing this, Hancock wiped away his tears, feeling both moved and worried, while still shedding tears. Luffy, he must have done this for his concubine. Shaki has a helpless face, he is really a little fool with a love brain. She didn't think that Little Monkey went to kill celestial dragons just for little Hancock, just to vent his anger. There may be a reason for this, but it is certainly not the point. Suddenly, Hancock cried and cried, feeling difficulty in breathing, he clutched his chest and fell to the ground with a plop. The expressions of the 2 sisters changed. Sister, what's wrong with you? This is. Shaki froze. Hancock was short of breath, grasping the news with one hand, and covering his chest with the other. His slender eyebrows were wrinkled, and his tone of voice became weak. Concubine. What's the matter with concubine? It's so uncomfortable. Lovesickness. Shaki blurted out, and then he was confused. Little Hancock, aren't you all pregnant? Why are you still like this? Lovesick. Hancock gasped. The women in our daughter's island are cursed. Once they fall in love with a man and suffer the pain of not being able to see each other day and night, they will become lovesick. Shaki said very calmly, your previous generation of emperors, I, and my mother-in-law all suffered from this disease. It's so uncomfortable. Hancock's expression was a bit painful. Will the concubine die? I won't die, don't worry. Shaki shook his head, and his tone became even more strange. Haven't you slept with Little Monkey? Aren't you both pregnant? The way to break the curse of Daughter Island is also very simple. When you see your lover and stay with him, it will be fine. If pregnant, it can be permanently eradicated. This curse seems to be urging the women of Daughter Island to get pregnant as much as possible. It is unbelievable that the child born during pregnancy must also be a baby girl. Pregnant. Pregnant. Hancock blinked. Not pregnant? What's the rumor? Shaki opened his mouth and couldn't help but look at the 2 younger sisters. Marigold and Sandersonia were also dumbfounded. This is troublesome. Shaki couldn't help holding his forehead, and hurriedly said, whoever of you has the contact information of Little Monkey, hurry up and let him come. If he doesn't come, his wife, Little Hancock, will really die. A. Grand Line, Pedestal Islands. A huge bar was occupied by a group of pirates. At the door of the bar, another capable person died in a pool of blood. Thief ha 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 ha. 0.5 billion. Straw Hat Luffy, that kid gave me a fight at Summit War. Blackbeard ate meat and drank heavily, laughing with newspaper in hand. Blackbeard, said Shiryu of the Rain with his arms folded, with a cigar in his mouth, in the news, he has already been called the new pirate emperor who can turn against the 4 emperors with 4 singles and 10 people. The main fruit ability is hidden. Whitebeard's shock fruit, was it taken away by him? That's strange. How did he do it? And Golden Lion's lion fruit, unbelievable. This guy is already unrivaled? His original ability, the zone ability that can turn white, was it originally called rubber fruit? Are you kidding? That ability must be zone, and it must be a phantom beast. What is rubber fruit? Paramisha's name. Pirates, tell me what you say. All escaped prisoners. Initially, the Blackbeard pirates were disbanded in the Summit War due to their failure to plunder Whitebeard. But after that, Blackbeard fled the battlefield, and soon confirmed that it was not his problem, but that someone was indeed one step ahead of him and took Whitebeard's fruit away. After that, he reconvened the group of prisoners and gave them a real demonstration of the method of plundering ability. Thus, the Blackbeard pirates formed again. For the sake of profit, some waves are not important. Rubber fruit? Blackbeard dismissed it. As he has seen the ancient devil fruit illustrated book, he is very sure that there is no such fruit in the illustrated book. This is a fruit that does not exist. At the same time, he also understands why the government pays so much attention to Straw Hat Luffy. Even more outrageous than Dark Fruit's abilities. Ability to plunder others, and not limit the number? 3 fruits may not be the limit, maybe there will be 4 or 5 kinds in the future. Even more. Thinking of this, Blackbeard grinned and said, "Thief, ha ha ha, it's almost time. Little ones, it's time to go to New World. Although I am very envious of the fruit of the Straw Hat, but now is not the time to be an enemy of the opponent. It's time to go." All the pirates had no objection and got up one after another. At this time, there was a burst of air conditioning outside the door. Aokiji stepped in slowly and stood at the door. "The place you are going to is Prison Shi, Wanokuni, above Onishima. Ask for directions." Luffy honestly told her purpose. It's also a double entendre. Kaido was silent and didn't turn the corner for a moment. Ask the way? Ask what way? Conquerors running around with random releases, just because of this? Hot interest. Suddenly, the green dragon opened its fangs, and a scorching breath was born from its mouth, which turned into a jet of flame and shot out suddenly. The high temperature and high heat dragon's breath can even wipe out a mountain in one bite. Luffy's figure flashed, and he flew to a high place, avoiding a blow. The jet of flame lost its target and hit the outside of the island straight, dyeing the sky red with fire, and finally disappeared into the sky. Spraying when we meet, are you drunk? Luffy came to the head of the dragon and punched Kaido in the head. When it was not touched, black-red lightning burst out and spread in all directions like a spider web. Boom. There was a deafening roar in the sky, and the pirates on the island were startled to walk out of the skeleton castle. Looking up, I saw Kaido and Luffy fighting with their mouths wide open. Is that Straw Hat Luffy? The woman wearing a grimace mask, holding a mace, was shocked when her eyes fell on Luffy. His Highness Yamato. His Highness Yamato. The subordinate was so frightened that his head hurt. Don't get close, you will get hurt. Yamato didn't listen to the advice at all, and ran towards the bottom of the 2 warring parties. Boom, boom, boom. The roar came one after another. Kaido's head eventually dented, and the dragon's eyes popped out. Until a certain moment, the balance was broken. Accompanied by a strong impact, Kaido's huge body fell from the sky, and the huge dragon head hit the ground hard. Just landed not far in front of Yamato. 5-3 equals Kaido. In the chaos, Kaido's body was shrinking rapidly. Luffy lowered his body, feet on the ground, and caught a glimpse of Yamato out of the corner of his eye. Even though she was wearing a prajna mask and a white sleeveless close-fitting kimono, she still couldn't hide her proud figure. The dutiful son of One Piece world. No, the dutiful daughter, the biological daughter of 4 emperors Kaido, Yamato. It's really tall, maybe 2.56 meters. Luffy thought in his heart. Straw Hat Luffy, I've been waiting for you, for a long time. Yamato's voice was full of joy. Take me away, please let me aboard your boat. Luffy ignored her, looking at the figure in the smoke. Kaido covered his head and staggered to his feet. It hurts, Straw Hat. There was pain in his mouth, but let alone vomiting blood, he couldn't see any injuries on the outside. The strongest creature in the world. If it's heads up, it's Kaido. Possess extraordinary vitality and defense. Thanks to your punch, I woke up from my morning drink. You're welcome. Luffy said with a faint smile, you bump your head into my fist, don't drink next time. He's just pretending to be in front of his daughter, and he's not an idiot. The corners of Kaido's mouth collapsed, and soon he grinned again. Ooh, great hockey. I like you, Straw Hat. Would you like to come under my command? Hearing this, Luffy was speechless for a while. He is hated by the world government, but he is a sweet potato when he runs to the pirate camp. Big Mom wants to send his daughter to marry him. Kaido was punched by him, not only didn't get angry, but showed an expression of appreciation, and wanted to recruit him. Does he seem like the kind of man who would take his place? The old ancestors said it well. A man lives between heaven and earth, how can he be depressed for a long time? Well, female superiors don't count, it's just the fun between the boudoir. I'm just here to ask for directions, I'm not interested. Before Luffy finished speaking, Kaido took out a mace from nowhere and approached in a blink of an eye. The stick wraps around the conquerors, and black and red lightning flashes. What do you want to ask? Ask with your fists first, Thunder 8 trigrams. Saying so, Kaido brandished the mace himself.
Luffy's sensibility sees the future. A figure cut between the two.
Yamato held up the same mace, and smashed it towards Kaido's head. Thunder 8 trigrams. Boom. The result of the confrontation between father and daughter is self-evident. Yamato was kicked away by a stick, flew hundreds of meters away, and hit a boulder before barely stopping. What are you doing, Yamato? Kaido looked unhappy. It's fine to resist him on weekdays, as a father, he can accept it. But when he was recruiting a top powerhouse, he still came to disrupt the situation, which made him feel very angry. Straw Hat Luffy. You go first, I'll follow you later. Yamato gasped, got up stubbornly, held the mace in both hands, and attacked Kaido again. Who are you? Luffy asked knowingly. Yamato paused in his forward posture, and hurriedly shouted, I'm big. No, I'm Kozuki Oden, Ace's friend. I also saw the live broadcast of Summit War, Straw Hat Luffy, please. Get me out of here. Kozuki Oden has been dead for more than 10 years, but no matter how you look at it, she is still a woman. Luffy grinned, Kaido, your daughter. Admire Kaido's constipated expression. His own daughter wants to inherit the will of the enemy. Is it a late-night family ethics drama? It's so boring, and only Kaido's current expression can bring him a little joy. Kaido said in a low voice, stand back, Yamato. Luffy crossed her arms, ready to start watching the show. At this time, the voice on the phone rang. Pulu Pulu, Pulu Pulu. Nami? Thinking in his heart, Luffy took out the phone bug from his pocket and immediately accepted the call. Lord Luffy. An anxious voice came from the opposite side, a little strange. Luffy thought about it seriously, and finally remembered. Sander Sonia? Lord Luffy, you can just call me Sonia. No. Now is not the time to talk about this, my lord is ill. Hancock fell ill? Luffy frowned. What's going on? It's the curse of our daughter's island, lovesickness. Master Luffy, where are you? Hurry up and come to daughter's island. Please, if you don't come, my sister will die. The voice was a little crying. Lovesickness, this curse is naturally no stranger to Luffy. Give the phone bug to Hancock. Yes. There was a frantic sound, and then Hancock's feeble voice. Luffy. Are you okay? I'm fine. The voice was weak but seemed somewhat joyful. No matter how it sounds, it doesn't look like it's okay. Luffy thought with a headache, he didn't have a permanent pointer to Daughter Island, how should he go? You have a good rest, sleep first, and I will appear when you wake up. After saying a little warm words to appease the Empress, she cut off the communication. Although he didn't have any feelings for Hancock, he only slept with him because he wanted to sleep with the most beautiful woman in the world. But it's not his character to lift his pants and deny people. Looking at Kaido and Yamato, the father and daughter will stage a family ethics drama early in the morning. Kaido, give me a copy of the Grand Line Sea Chart, and I will leave immediately. Luffy interrupted both sides, speaking calmly. Kaido grinned. He heard the phone bug's conversation. Hancock? One Piece, boy, a Hancock of one of the Shicibukai? It turned out to be this kid's woman. Are you going to save your own woman? What kind of lovesickness? It does not matter. Outsiders thought he was a reckless man, but in fact he was not, but under normal circumstances, he didn't need to think, fists could solve everything. But the current situation is different, now is the time for him to use his brain. Perhaps after not thinking about more complicated issues for too long, Kaido felt a little itchy scalp, as if his brain was about to grow out. Oh, lol. Balwong, go get a copy of the sea chart. Kaido let out a laugh. Soon, the Emperor flew over from the top floor of the skeleton castle. Master Kaido. Give him. Luffy got the nautical chart from the royalist, opened it and took a look, and there were no problems with the markings on some key islands. I couldn't help being very surprised in my heart. Kaido is so easy to talk. Want to sell him a favor? Thank you. Next time I want to kill you, I will spare your life. Luffy put away the chart and was about to fly away. Wait. Straw Hat Luffy, take me with you, Yamato yelled hastily. Kozuki Oden is not welcome on my ship. The sound gradually faded away, and a silver-white light penetrated the sky in a blink of an eye and disappeared into the sky. Yamato froze in place. Such a good opportunity slipped away from her eyes. It's great to be able to fly, so free, she thought enviously. Suddenly, Kaido's voice sounded. Yamato, do you want to leave? Kaido. Yamato came back to his senses, gritted his teeth and stared at his biological father. I want me to unshackle you, as long as you can do one thing. Kaido said coldly. What? Yamato was stunned, she couldn't believe it, it was such a wonderful sound. No, although Kaido has been very strict with her since she was a child, it seems that she has never cheated verbally. What's up? You are my daughter, and your appearance is not much worse than that pirate empress. The same is true for your strength. Kaido is ruthless, and regards his daughter as a tool. That kid is young and has no resistance to beautiful women. Yamato, go tempt him and make him my subordinate. At that time, you will be free. Asterisk asterisk. There are such bastard fathers in the world who let their daughters leave them to recruit subordinates. No, I'm a man, and I decided to abandon my daughter a long time ago. Yamato clenched his fist. Oh giggle, don't you want to? Kaido knows his daughter's temperament too well. If he refuses him here, he might think a little bit more. I won't. Yamato was at a loss. Since she was a child, she only knew how to practice, so how could she know these things? I'll find someone to teach you. What do you think this is? This is Wano-kuni. Kaido snorted coldly. Reminiscing about the punch I got just now. Straw Hat's conquerors is even better than him. Once such a man becomes his right-hand man. What is a mere daughter? Originally a foster daughter, she was always calling out to become Kozuki Oden, and he wanted to beat her to death a few times. If you can get a straw hat, that's a lot of money. It's like taking a piece of dog shit and exchanging it for the same amount of gold, earning whatever you want. Kaido can't help but go back hope young. If I knew my daughter would become like this, I should have another one at that time. Even if there is a chart, but no record pointer, it is still difficult for ordinary people to distinguish the direction on the Grand Line. Sooner or later, they will still get lost, and eventually they will end up running out of supplies. But Luffy is clearly not ordinary. He is a lion fruit ability user, who can make his body light, and a gust of wind can blow him out of the king's land. At the same time, he is also the sun god. In Nika's form, his physical fitness has increased exponentially. Therefore, his flying speed is very fast, and he can easily achieve supersonic speed, or even double the speed of sound. Apart from Kizaru, Luffy doesn't know anyone who can be faster than him. Daughter Island. 9 Snake City, the Emperor's bedroom. Hancock was lying on the tent bed, with a strange blush on his cheeks, and a cold towel on his clean forehead. His big moist eyes were closed tightly, and his breathing gradually became steady. Fell asleep. Sandersonia got up from the tent, breathed a sigh of relief, and said worriedly, but I still have a fever. Shaki, what will happen if Master Luffy doesn't come back? Lovesickness is a curse, not an ordinary fever. You have never seen it when you were young, but I have seen it many times. Shaki sat aside, crossed his legs, rested his chin with one hand and said. Some people say it's a virus invasion, but the result is the same. Ordinary medicines are completely useless. You can't see people, and you will die sooner or later. Many emperors of Daughter Kingdom died under this curse. Until the past 100 years, the emperors have learned to be smart. It's okay if they don't meet a man they like. If they do, they will think of ways to prepare to run away. It was the same with Zapo when she was young. She left the country and fled to the sea, and lived with her lover for many years. She didn't return to the country until the curse completely disappeared. Of course, so did she. Why is this? Sandersonia looked gloomy. Trust little monkey, he said he will come over, and he will come soon. What if we don't make it in time? That's why little Hancock can't see men well. The man I recognize deserves his death. Shaki said with a smile, 2 younger sisters. Don't think I'm so heartless. Suddenly, the window of the bedroom opened suddenly, and a white figure broke in quickly. Lord Luffy. Marigold was overjoyed. Look at my lord is going to die soon. While talking, he looked at the tent bed. Hancock, who was lying there quietly, stood up at some point. Shaki. Didn't you fall asleep? Little Hancock's lovesickness is much worse than when she was young. As soon as you hear the name, Luffy, Hancock called softly, affectionately. Are you all right? Luffy was also taken aback. Could it be to fool him? Hancock doesn't look like there is anything wrong. However, it's all here. He opens his arms. Hancock threw himself into his arms with a happy face. Luffy reached out and touched her forehead. She did have a fever. It's okay, I'm here. Shaki, who was fed a mouthful of dog food, gave the two sisters a wink helplessly. Afterwards, the three quietly left the bedroom. Luffy, have you grown taller? It's like this when a man doesn't see each other for a day. In the room, there was a wonderful sound soon. The two who had been separated for more than half a month had a great time afterwards. After a good dry, Luffy walked out of the Empress's boudoir and turned to the next door. Before entering the door, I heard thin conversations coming from inside. No sound. No sound. It was the voices of the two sisters, Sandersonia and Marigold. You two. Why are you lying there listening to the corner? It was Shaki's voice, and his tone was a bit teasing. Why don't you sneak a look when you're so curious? It's really curious. What are my sister and Luffy doing? Marigold asked naively. Is it treating lovesickness? I heard it when I was on the boat before. At that time, my sister shouted so painfully. Sandersonia was also puzzled. Shaki couldn't help laughing out loud. It can be regarded as treatment. You will know in the future. It is best not to know, and save yourself from being targeted by the curse someday. Why? The two sisters tilted their heads. Luffy outside the door was also speechless. With a dry cough, he pushed the door open and entered. Luffy. The corner of Shaki's mouth raised a playful smile like an elder, and he looked up and down. Luffy, who entered the door, was only wearing a coat, which was still Hancock's red coat. This is the country of daughters, so naturally there are no men's clothes. Wearing it on Luffy at this time is quite funny. However, the small font power is really good. Shaki, what the hell is going on with your lovesickness? Luffy knows about lovesickness, but only from the original story. In the original story, Hancock's situation is not as serious as today's. If he doesn't come, Hancock will die if he delays for a long time. Lovesickness. Simply put, the deeper the love, the more severe the illness, the shorter the onset time, and the faster the death. Shaki took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, and skillfully lit one for himself. She explained it simply. So, there's going to be problems later, unless you're pregnant? Luffy pondered for a moment. This was unexpected. He doesn't mind if Hancock is pregnant or not, but it's not up to him whether he gets pregnant or not. He is like a blindfolded target shooter in the shooting range. He shoots out with only 2 words, follow the fate. So, for safety reasons, do you have to accompany by her side? No, another way, keep Hancock by your side. Next time, ask her about her menstrual period and calculate the time to increase the success rate. Little monkey, what do you want to do? Shaki asked with a slight smile. I asked her what she wanted. Luffy chose to respect Hancock's own ideas. He turned his head and went out, but when he returned to the bedroom, he found that Hancock had already woken up. Release the color of knowledge and quickly find her. When they came to the big bath, Luffy saw Hancock taking a bath. Compared with when they first met, her skin was moist and rosy at this time, like a delicate blooming flower. It doesn't look sick at all. Luffy, the corners of Hancock's rosy lips raised a slight arc, and the blooming smile could make any man lose his mind. Luffy is fine, mainly because she has slept twice and gained some immunity. Hancock, is your fruit awakened? Awakening. The sweet fruit of my body, I awakened very early. Luffy immediately took off his coat and entered the bath as well. Afterwards I had a good time. 2 hours later, there was a lush forest outside Nine Snake City. Luffy said to the Empress standing not far away. Try hitting me with your haki, with all your strength. For such an incomprehensible request, the Empress trusted her 100% and complied completely. After a simple test, Luffy got the answer. Her conqueror's haki is about IV3 in strength. It's just that the women in the daughter country are very familiar with haki. They have practiced it since they were young, and they are very skilled in using it. For skills such as internal destruction, the Empress has a solid grasp of them. And this kind of skill, Luffy only mastered it by eating haki fruit and getting IV5. Skill is skill. The level of haki only represents the strength of haki. Thinking of this, Luffy immediately opened the adventure store. Today's luck is not very good. I only bought 6 haki fruits after swiping 6 times. Just enough, though. Luffy came to Hancock and took her white and soft hands. Her 5 fingers were slender and her muscles were like white jade, which was very comfortable to hold. Luffy? Hancock blushed, letting his lover do whatever he wanted. Almost forgot about business. Luffy took out 6 haki fruits and stuffed them into the white and tender palm. After finishing his work, He took Hancock's waist seriously, feeling the touch carefully. Of course, what he likes the most is the Empress' long legs, which can be played with. This is the hockey fruit. The self-healing fruit was given to you three sisters before. Its effect is that after eating, it can enhance a person's hockey. Such a precious thing, do you want to give it to my concubine? Joy filled Hancock's heart. Even if it was the first time he heard of such a fruit, he had any doubts. She doesn't care about the fruit itself, but likes the feeling of being cared by Luffy. The mood is rippling and the eyebrows are affectionate. Luffy laughed. Such a fruit. He habitually wants to say that one fruit will cost him 10 years of life. But then I thought about it, the Empress would probably really believe this kind of nonsense, so she gave up. Eat what I give you. Do you still want to be polite to me? Yes. Hancock felt that his whole body was soaked in honey, as happy as he could be. He opened his mouth and took a bite, and immediately felt his own haki getting stronger. After eating all 6 fruits, her Conqueror's haki has reached the IV5 level. Especially Conqueror's. Hancock widened his beautiful eyes in surprise, and said blankly. The concubine seems to have mastered the Conqueror's entanglement? The fruit is more precious than she imagined. Conqueror's entanglement, but only a very small number of top powerhouses can master the power zone. Among the emperors of Daughter Country, there are many people who awaken conquerors. But there is no emperor who really masters the tyranny. She couldn't call out any of them. Hancock immediately hugged Luffy emotionally, and looked at each other with tender eyes. For this, Luffy felt helpless. There is no plowed field, only exhausted cattle, thanks to his good physical strength. The two stood in the woods, ecstatically embracing each other. Until a cough came. Ahem. I don't want to disturb you either. Rayleigh. The Empress looked at the uninvited guest with angry eyes. Unforgivable. Rayleigh was speechless at her stare. Men are not allowed on this island, not even you, Rayleigh, Hancock snorted. Rayleigh looked at Luffy beside the Empress, and was even more speechless. The Emperor is amazing, he can be lenient towards his lover. When Shaki was the Emperor, he was not as capricious as she was. Luffy laughed and said, "What's the matter? About the newspaper? You went to the Holy Land and killed so many celestial dragons to avenge Hancock. It's fun to do so, but be careful of the revenge later." Rayleigh reminded in a deep voice, "The celestial dragons have ruled the world for 800 years, and they must have some means that you can't imagine. Our Lady of Flame? It will take 2 years for that thing to be fully completed." Rayleigh, what do you know? Don't be careless, there is absolutely nothing wrong with this. Really? Can't be careless. The flame of Our Lady was used for the first time after 2 years, because Vegapunk helped the government complete this research at that time. But no one can guarantee that the 5 elders will ask to speed up the progress. You can't put your own safety on the enemy's stupidity. If you rely too much on the known information from your previous life, you might suffer from it. Thinking of this, Luffy immediately changed his mind, saying, "Hancock, I already know about your lovesickness. I have a proposal. See if you are willing to accept it." "What?" Hancock said without thinking. "Luffy, as long as it is your request, I am willing to do anything. Your daughter country is located in the Calm Belt, isolated from the rest of the world. This is both a protection and a restriction." Luffy said with a smile, "I can move the island. I have the calendar area of lion fruit." At the beginning, he was going to take the Empress away, just keep it with him. But after hearing what Rayleigh said, he changed his mind. The fact that the Pirate Empress is his woman will be known to the world government sooner or later, and when the time comes, people can't find him for revenge. What should they do if they take revenge on Daughter Country? Just take the island away. In this way, Hancock can also continue to be her emperor. Move the Daughter's Country. Not only Hancock, but even Rayleigh was dumbfounded. No, wait a minute, lion fruit. Luffy, you showed the fruit in the Saboti archipelago. You have a kind of fruit at the same time. Fuli said in surprise. Is this also the ability of rubber fruit? He knows the particularity of rubber fruit, but exactly how, Roger didn't know. Those of them who have arrived at the final island only know that after the awakening of rubber fruit, the liberation fighter, Joey Bofer, will appear again after 800 years. He will change the world. For this misunderstanding, Luffy didn't bother to explain, so let's just treat it like this. That's why it's no wonder Rayleigh rubbed his chin and said with a smile, "Having this kind of power, it's no wonder that you are named as a god. Hancock, Luffy's proposal is very good. Your daughter's island is located in the Calm Belt. Although it is a natural barrier for you, it also limits resources physically. If you can leave this place, it must be of great benefit to the entire country." "I know, I don't need your reminder, Rayleigh." Hancock was still pissed off. probably holding grudges for days when Rayleigh interrupted her making out with Luffy. When he turned his head to look at Luffy, he changed into a cute and shy expression. As long as it's Luffy's request, I will do it. Then go to New World. Luffy thought of the Fishmen Island and Elegia, and simply put these 3 islands together. Big Mom can build a world, and a sea area can accommodate 35 islands. He doesn't need so much, just put some necessary sights under his eyes. Entering the New World, he needs to gradually change from a rogue bandit to a sitting bandit. Or to put it another way, if he regards the whole world as a big cake, he will sooner or later become a separatist force. In that case, Hancock, go and inform the people. Although you are the emperor, you still have to take care of the people's emotions. Since Luffy said so, I will do it myself. Hancock left full of joy, thinking that he could often be with his lover in the future. Meeting, dating, and making out, she was so happy that she didn't even want to be an emperor. Watching her go away happily, Rayleigh said with a smile, "Are there many women in your crew? You stinky old man, do you want to watch my show?" Luffy rolled his eyes. Isn't it just how many women? It's not a big deal. It's not the world of monogamy in previous lives. Even in that more civilized world, once you get out of the bottom, it's actually no different. However, that being said, but the end of the water still has to be stable. Hancock's sweet fruit has long been awakened, and Nami and the others must be arranged as soon as possible. Just thinking about it, the phone bug rang. After connecting, it is Nami's voice. "Luffy? I saw you attacking Marie Joyce on the news. Are you okay? Where are you now?" "Heal other women in Daughter's Island." "Of course you can't say that." "Ahem. I'm fine, Nami, don't worry, I'll be back soon. Please send your greetings to Elegia first." Injured. Nami suddenly became nervous. "It's okay, don't worry, how about the gold thing?" "It's been handed over to that female sailor named Tashigi. Are you really alright?" After a lot of talking, Luffy hung up the communication. Look up and see Rayleigh's smiling face. You must also pay attention to your body when you are young. "I'm in great health." Putting away the phone bug, Luffy said angrily, "After I move Daughter Island to New World, I'm going to see Big Mom. For the historical text of the signpost, why don't I tell you the coordinates? Even if I know, I still want to collect those stones. As I said, I have an archaeologist on board." "Nico Robin? No wonder this kid is very popular with women." Rayleigh shook his head. "Rayleigh, there's a red rock on the Fishmen Island." "Where's that rock?" "The Fishmen Island? We didn't take it back then. You can ask someone from the Whitebeard Pirates." After Hancock returned to Nine Snake City, he immediately summoned all the citizens. On the square in front of the Imperial Palace, she announced the 1,000 islands to everyone. There is no objection to Master Shiji's proposal. She conquers everything with her beauty. Even if it is willful and reckless, it will be forgiven by everyone. Not to mention, this time it seems to be a good thing. Even my mother-in-law was shocked, and she didn't object. Calm Belt, this shitty place, who wants to stay here if given the choice? After gaining the support of all the people, Luffy unleashed the power of Lion Fruit. Daughter Island slowly broke away from the sea under the strong vibration, and gradually climbed to an altitude of more than 10,000 meters. Forward to the New World. The women on the island came to the port one after another, and even the seawater around the island was taken up into the sky. Lord Luffy, long live. At this moment, the voice calling to Luffy surpassed. Daughter Island flew slowly towards New World. The destination this time is Elegia, the capital of music. With the permanent pointer, you won't get lost. Nine Snake City, Imperial Palace, Dining Hall. Hancock sat beside Luffy, looking at the delicious food with a smile on his face. Hurry up and get more food. Luffy spent a lot of energy moving an island. Yes, Master Snake Fairy. The cooks hurried to the kitchen. On the long dining table, food for hundreds of people was piled up. While eating, Luffy said casually, "I can get there quickly by myself, but it will take a few days to move an island." Sitting on the opposite side are Granny Z, Shaki, and Hancock's 2 younger sisters. As for Rayleigh, poor Rayleigh, who is not allowed to set foot on the island, is still picking wild berries in the forest. Monkey D. Luffy, this is the second time we meet like this. The mother-in-law couldn't help but think about the fact that this guy broke into Daughter Island for the first time not long ago, took the Emperor away, and then sent him back safe and sound. Every time you can make something big happen. This time the whole country is relocated. Although leaving Calm Belt is a good thing, but losing this natural barrier will encounter problems that ordinary countries will encounter in the future. The target is New World, the sea area ruled by the 4 emperors. Although Snake Princess is strong, she will have a lot of trouble when facing the forces at the four emperors level. Don't worry, Hancock is strong now, no matter how bad it is, you hang my flag at the port. The mother-in-law smiled, and said in her heart, what I'm waiting for is your boy's words. Sleeping with the emperor of our daughter country, isn't it ridiculous not to provide a little protection? Of course, Luffy can guess what the old emperor is thinking, without any need for mind-reading skills. It is a matter of course to provide protection for one's own woman's country. Little Monkey is still very reliable, you don't have to worry about it, this kid is too strong. Shaki got up, took a basket from the dining table, and filled it with a lot of food and wine. Rayleigh is hungry too, I'll bring him some food. Let's go. She is not as capricious as Hancock, even in the previous reign, she never let a man in. Watching her leave, Luffy couldn't help asking in a low voice. How old is Shaki? Shaki, he must be in his 60s this year. Hancock thought for a while and replied with a smile. It's a monster, it looks like it's in its 30s at most. Luffy couldn't help but sneer. The women in the Daughter Kingdom may all be such monsters, relying on absorbing men's blood to maintain their youth. Poor Rayleigh, it's no wonder his strength has degraded so quickly, he didn't want to stay at home when he was in the Saboti archipelago, he went out to drink every day, he must have been sucked dry when he was young. Unlike him, 10 more Hancocks, and he can hold out. Luffy seems to have discovered a big secret, while Luffy was carrying Daughter Island. However, because of the 2 pieces of news from the World Classics, the outside world caused huge waves. The first piece of news reported that the Holy Land of Marie Joyce was attacked last night, and Straw Hat Luffy killed 39 celestial dragons. As soon as this news came out, it caused a sensation in the world. Back then, 3 celestial dragons were killed in the Saboti archipelago. Although it also caused a huge discussion, compared with this time, it is not the same. That is the Holy Land Marie Joyce, the upper realm, where celestial dragons, the nobles of the world, descendants of the Creator, live. It represents absolute status, absolute rule, and a place that symbolizes their status as gods. Raided by a mere one, even killed so many celestial dragons. As soon as the news reports came out, some panicked, but more people, in disbelief, cheered and raised the Straw Hat Luffy to the altar. Especially those countries that have experienced a revolution, or are experiencing a revolution, or are preparing to set off a revolution. Countless people posted the head portrait of Luffy in the straw hat and worshipped the photo. It has gone beyond the concepts of worship and admiration. That's a kind of leader. God, please keep Lord Straw Hat Luffy safe. Coincidentally, prayers were sent out all over the world. Please kill all the celestial dragons. There were also roars. What will the world be like in the future? There are also people who are deeply worried. But after half a day, the second printed press release of Shijing was once again spread to the whole world. The man who offered a reward of 5 billion. A person with 3 fruit abilities and a straw hat can become the emperor. This is the manuscript 5 elders asked Morgas to publish. The original intention is to exaggerate and discredit Straw Hat Luffy's bad behavior, and at the same time express an attitude, declaring that this matter will never stop. But in the end, it was changed into a different form by Morgan C. The headline on the front page even thoughtfully posted the portraits of the other 3 pirate emperors of the current era, as well as their bounties. Captain Red Hair Pirates, Red Hair Shanks, Summer Bounty, 4,074,890 Fang Bailey. Captain of the Big Mom Pirates, Big Mom Charlotte Linlin, Bounty, 4.388 billion Baileys. Captain of the Beasts Pirates, Kaido of the Beasts, Bounty, 4.6111 billion Baileys. And, after these 3, the new One Piece Emperor is proclaimed by Shijing. Captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, Straw Hat Luffy, Bounty, 5 billion Baileys. From 71 million, to 3.5 billion after the top battle, to 5 billion after the attack on the Holy Land. The road to Monkey D. Luffy's rise was unbelievably fast, and it took only 3 or 4 months. Morgas even boasted in the article, saying that he thought this pirate would be a hot topic in the news at the beginning, and now he has lived up to his expectations. 3 fruit abilities: Paramecia Rubber Fruit, Paramecia Shock Fruit, Paramecia Lion Fruit. Unprecedented terrifying existence, unrivaled sea monsters. Straw Hat Luffy, today would be called the 4 Emperors. Now after Whitebeard's death, the era named Whitebeard has ended, and the new era will be opened by this man. At the end of the news, Morse spared no effort to flatter. No one knows what he really thinks, in pursuit of big news? Maybe it was for the fire. No one knows what his motives were, but this second newspaper, building on the first, caused a great earthquake all over the world. There are church nuns standing on the edge of the cliff, praying on their knees. God, is this world going to end? New world, a burning island. A small, wrinkled, old woman in a leopard print coat, with a cane in one hand and a newspaper in one hand. Miss Jhin, former Rock's pirate member, claiming to be Whitebeard Edward Newgate's lover. She wore thick lipstick and sunglasses. At this time, holding the hand of the newspaper, trembling with anger because of the content of the news. Damn it, after Whitebeard died, all the delicious food was taken by this brat. Unforgivable bastard, you are the one who will succeed the Whitebeard 4 emperors. Weibo. The old woman hit the ground heavily with her cane. Ah, I'm sorry, Mom. The man behind Barkin had the same crescent-shaped white beard that curved up like Whitebeard. He was tall, fat, ugly, with a nose that always ran out of snot, and a thick lip. When apologizing, the expression is stupid, but, am I really Whitebeard's son? Mother. What stupid things are you talking about? See for yourself. Jhin took out the reward order that had been treasured in his arms for many years and showed it to his son. Weibo said blankly, Hey, is this a mirror? No, this is Whitebeard's bounty. What, I thought it was a mirror. It looks exactly the same, how could it not be my own? Jhin put away the reward order with a snort, and continued to move forward. You child, you are so stupid. Ah, Mom, I was wrong, wait for me. Weeble followed quickly. Behind the two is the burning earth and the two pirate groups that were wiped out. These two pirate groups, who participated in the Summit War before, are the second of 43 pirate groups under Whitebeard's command. Miss Jhin snorted, and crumpled up the reward order of Straw Hat Luffy. The one who will inherit Whitebeard's legacy is you, my dear son. That Firefist ace should have died in the Summit War. Anyway, first find this brat who ate the Mera Mera fruit. Got it, Mom. New world, a certain island. The country on this island is too poor to pay the gold from the sky, so it has become a lawless place for pirates and human traffickers. He was once the home of the 4 emperors, Whitebeard. Over the years, the country has been kept alive by gifts from Whitebeard. At this time, on the edge of a cliff full of flowers, a brand new tombstone was erected, with Whitebeard's cloak hanging on the tombstone, and beside it was the supreme sharp knife that had accompanied Whitebeard in fighting for decades, Kong Yunki. In front of the tombstone, stood 3 people. 4 emperors, red-haired Shanks, captain of the 2nd Division, Fire Fist Ace. First team captain, Marco. Be happy, your safety is the greatest consolation to Dad. Marco patted Ace on the shoulder. I know, I've tried very hard to laugh. Ace cried and said, he covered his face full of tears with one hand, and clenched his fist with the other. I'm too weak. Ace, now is not the time to be weak. Now that the Whitebeard pirates are falling apart because of the death of the father, you need to stand up. Marco said in a deep voice. Although he is the captain of the first team, he cannot be the one who takes over the position of captain. Ace is the one that Dad puts his high hopes on. I know, I will not let the Whitebeard pirates perish. I will inherit Dad's will. Ace wiped away his tears, and said firmly, when I have accumulated enough power, I will personally kill the root of it all. Blackbeard, Marshal Teach. Seeing that he had regained his spirits, Marco was immediately relieved. At this time, the red-haired man who had been silent on the side smiled and said, Ace, don't worry, just read the news. He handed out the newspaper. Marco and Ace looked together, both showing dull expressions. Luffy got Whitebeard's ability, and now he has the prestige of 4 emperors. 5 billion? Ha ha ha, it's already surpassed me. Shanks laughed. Luffy. Ace looked at his younger brother's profile picture and the content of the news, which immediately reminded him of his childhood, about Sabo. It's for Sabo revenge. Luffy is the one who is going to be the One Piece, so this is the way to go. He grinned and said something, and was silent for a moment. Marco, call everyone. Whitebeard's remnants must be targeted by many people. Now is not the time to hide and tremble in Dad's hometown. Luffy has already arrived.
The peak of the pirates, as an older brother, I can't fall down here.
After a few days, the aftermath of the big news is still going on. And the protagonist of the news, Luffy has finally moved Daughter Island to New World. I chose an area with relatively shallow seawater and put the Daughter Island down. This place is not far from Elegia, and they can see each other with naked eyes. Will the island sink? Port, what mother-in-law asked a little uneasy. No, with my ability to maintain it, I will carry out a certain degree of transformation in the future until it can safely float on the sea without the power of lion fruit. Luffy was relieved. As we all know, Most islands in the world have roots and are connected to the seabed. There are also islands without roots, which are called floating islands. Daughter Island is obviously not a floating island, so to make it float on the sea, it needs some transformation. This is no problem for Luffy. Suddenly changed a piece of sea, the magnetic field here will also be chaotic. Shaki smoked and said softly, it will affect the magnetic root. Maybe there will be pirates in the future. Under the guidance of the recording pointer, I got lost here. Not anytime soon. Luffy pointed to another island in the distance, and said, that island is called Elegia, you must have heard of it. Asterisk. Shaki looked stunned. Elegia, an island that disappeared from the map. Because of the close proximity, the magnetic force of the two islands will be entangled with each other, and within a short period of time, the magnetic force in this area will be disordered. I want to find here by the record pointer, I wait to try my luck. If you describe it intuitively, the pointer will be biased to this side for a while, and then to that side for a while. A change of this magnitude is equivalent to the word dangerous in the New World. Even if a pirate with a strong head insisted on running over, he would get lost on the way, and he didn't know where he was taken by the pointer. Hancock, I'm usually on that island and come to see you when I have time. Luffy turned to the Empress beside her and said, in a few days, I will meet with Big Mom. I will also need your strength at that time. Luffy, my concubine will always be your help. Hancock's expression is full of reluctance. He is very happy to get along with each other for a few days. Well, I'll take a look first. Saying goodbye to everyone, Luffy slowly flew towards Elegia. My lord. Marigold called softly. The Empress withdrew her gaze, smiled slightly and said, I am not the kind of woman who is not satisfied. Mary, Sonia, returned to the palace. Changed to a new home, there are still many things to do. We handle it. Yes, my lord. Back to Elegia. Nami and others discovered Luffy's aura immediately and came to greet him immediately. Luffy. Because they hadn't seen each other for several days, Nami and Vivi threw themselves into Luffy's arms at once, out of missing. Luffy put his arms around the two, turned his head to look at UTA with puffed cheeks, and said with a smile. Who pissed you off? As he spoke, he also gave UTA a big hug. This made the little singer smile again. For Uda's joining, Nami has long been mentally prepared. During this time together, their relationship is also very strong. Luffy, what happened to that island over there? Uda opened his eyes curiously. That's Daughter's Island, I'll tell you about it later. Luffy took her children and walked towards the palace. Get ready, it's time to go to Big Mom to complete the deal. Back at Elegia's castle, Luffy found a strange place. Where are people? The castle was empty, and there was no breath of a person. No manly breath, he could understand. Bartolomeo drove all the men out of the castle except when he first came to the island. Including Gordon, the owner of the castle, was kicked out by him. The reason is that the castle, like the Sunny, has already lured Luffy's harem. Men are not allowed to enter. Luffy also felt very speechless about this. Such a big castle, covering an area of more than 100,000 square meters, can only accommodate a few people. Only when eating, men are allowed to step into this place. Therefore, there was no man in the castle. He knew it, but what about women? Hey, I drove you away. Nami stuck out her tongue and took Luffy's arm, pretending to be cute. No one is allowed to come back except when sleeping and eating, and they are all practicing. When you are not here, they all want to be lazy, especially Perona. Perona is as lazy as can be imagined. That girl doesn't even want to walk. She spends most of her days relying on her spirit body to move about, and she is a woman who lies on the bed. Luffy is thinking, I have to talk to her about the punishment game when I have time. There are still 10 levels to pass. All the way to the living room to sit down, ordered. Nami, you go and bring Robin. Vivi, you go and call Robin. UTA, go make a cup of coffee. It fully demonstrated the majesty of the captain of a ship. The three women went to work obediently. Luffy turned on the system and has been buying hockey fruits every day for the past few days, and has saved 18 of them now. Immediately take out 10 pills and eat them one by one. When the 10th piece was eaten, armament hockey also ushered in an upgrade. Armament hockey. LV5. LV6 consistent with the situation of the other two hockey. The armed color of the level also has a new skill. Armed artillery. Silently digesting the new ability, Luffy stretched out his right palm, and the armed hockey formed a ball of energy in the palm. It is almost transparent, but if you perceive it with the color of knowledge, you can see that it is a mass of extremely dark things. Contains very strong energy, it will explode at any time. It's an advanced version of armed color release. Luffy understood immediately. Just like its name, it can compress the armed color into a cannonball and throw it out, and a big explosion will occur after hitting the target. Of course, it can also be wrapped around a fist, and when it hits an enemy, it will also explode. If internal destruction is performed at the same time, it can be detonated in the enemy's body. It turns out that there is such a skill of using of the armed color. Luffy thought in surprise. In the original story, Imp seems to have used a similar trick. Haki is really profound. What will come after IV6? Knowledge color IV6, mind reading. Armed color IV6, armed torch. Conqueror's Ulf 6, knowledge kills. But this is obviously not the limit, there is a higher realm. In today's world, there are not no people who have reached the same level as Luffy. For example, Garp, when he was young, his armed color definitely had IV6, but he doesn't know if he has it now. The knowledge reading mind reading technique is also mastered by others. Not to mention conquerors, in addition to the red hair, when they fought against IM, the other party also showed a sense of knowledge. But Conqueror's Haki has reached this level. Luffy thinks that he may be the only one. I don't even know if there is such a level. Maybe there is, after all, after living for 800 years, even a pig can become sperm. 8 left. After pondering for a while, Luffy took out a Haki fruit and ate it again, and then felt something was wrong. The improvement is very small, less than 1/10 of the previous one.
He suspects that it may take 100 or even more to upgrade from level 6 to level 7.
The price is actually not bad, at most 20,000 to 30,000, but the quantity. Shaking his head, he gave up temporarily. Prepare some awakening fruits first, and there is still space. Open the store and set up a refresh of today's copy. Swiped 6 times in one breath, and bought 6 awakening fruits. After that, it was refreshed for the 7th time, and another blank fruit was bought. Adventure coin. 263,825, Adventure Warehouse. Haki Fruit 7, Awakening Fruit 6, Blank Fruit 1, Self-Healing Fruit 1, Lifespan Fruit 3, Washing Fruit 1. Custom Refresh. This function is indeed very convenient, but it seems to have shortcomings. When using it, only the varieties that have appeared will be refreshed, and there will be no new products. It has been more than half a month since this function was obtained, and the number of refreshes has been dozens or hundreds of times. A new product did not appear. Luffy had to be so skeptical. For example, he now really wants a fruit that can make the target body smaller. Of course it is for Shirahoshi to eat. Just thinking about it, UTA came back with coffee. Luffy. Nodding his head, Luffy immediately took a sip of the coffee, and then asked. Uda, did your fruit drive? Awakening? Number. Uda blinked, sat down next to Luffy, held arms affectionately, and said with a smile. Can my Gurgur fruit be awakened? Can it turn into white like you? Can't change. I am zoned to change. You are Paramecia. Luffy briefly told her about Paramecia. Paramecia is a particularly large category, just like zone is divided into ordinary zone, ancient species, phantom beast species, and so on. Paramecia can also be roughly divided into categories according to the different manifestations of abilities. The first one is superpower. The ability user himself has not changed, but he can use some kind of superpower, such as Mr. 2's clone fruit. The second type is creation. The capable person himself has not changed, but he can make certain things, such as thread wax and so on. The third type, Superman. Some kind of superhuman changes have appeared in the body of the capable person himself, such as the unawakened rubber fruit, whose body has rubber characteristics, and is like Mr. 1's quick-cut fruit. The fourth type is compound type, special Paramecia, such as the waxy fruit of Katakuri. He also has a superhuman body and the ability to create corresponding substances. Of course, if you continue to subdivide, there can be 5th and 6th types, but it is not necessary, just throw them all into the compound type. So, I'm Paramecia of the superpower type? Uda said suddenly. You can bring other people's spirits into the world of songs through singing, which is a very powerful superpower. Luffy pondered. I don't know what the awakening will be like. The awakening of Paramecia string fruit, which is a creation, can turn the surrounding substances into threads and manipulate them. But Uda's song fruit is obviously not a track, and he doesn't know what it will look like. At this time, take out an awakening fruit and put it in Uda's palm. You can wake up after eating it, can you try it? Hey. Luffy, why do you have everything? Eat quickly, maybe you have awakened, but you don't know it. Uda opened his mouth and swallowed in one gulp, his eyes bulging like a little hamster. Delicious, eyes burst into surprise, a pair of rabbit ears stood up, and then he took Luffy's arm and said coquettishly, Let's have another one. Luffy gave her a blank stare. The landlord's house will be ruined by you, with a mouthful of 10,000 adventure coins. Who can afford it? Wait until the store is free. How's the ability? It seems a bit strange. Uda felt it silently, and said, it seems that there is no special change, but it can create a permanent spiritual space, and the world of songs that will not disappear even if you sleep. Shock. Luffy was taken aback. This fruit is too outrageous. In the theatrical version, this girl has drawn 70% of the world's people into the world of songs. In order to maintain the pure land she believes, she ate the insomniac mushroom and wanted to commit suicide in a sober state to keep the world running. After awakening, another virtual world that won't disappear even when you sleep. Is that still a virtual world? Need physical maintenance? No need. Only when I create something will my calendar be consumed. Looking at Luffy's expression, Uta suddenly realized that he seemed a bit strong, so he became proud. Hey, Luffy, am I good? What's the air? Luffy couldn't help pinching the girl's cheek. It hurts so much, it's too much. Quickly launched a counterattack. The two started fighting on the sofa. If it wasn't for the knowledgeable perception that someone came back, Yin probably would have become a good F*K again. Luffy, what do you want me to do? Robin and Vivi came to the living room together, and saw that they were disheveled on the sofa. Uda's face was pinched red, because he stared at Luffy. Luffy immediately took out 2 awakening fruits and said with a smile. I'm going to meet Big Mom, Robin, Vivi, this fruit of awakening, eat it. Hearing this, the 2 women looked at each other, and then ate. Immediately afterwards, both of them woke up. Vivi is the fruit of Logia Yuyu. After awakening, the ability is very reasonable, and it can permanently change the climate of an area. It's like Akainu and Aokiji fought for 10 days and 10 nights, turning Punk Hazard into Ice and Fire Island forever. And the fruit of Robin is Paramecia flower fruit. Any part of the body can be made to grow like flowers on any tangible things within sight. After awakening, it is no longer limited to tangible objects. In other words, her ability can appear anywhere out of thin air. It can also be done by growing a hand directly out of the air. It can even create several clones in an instant, and they are exactly the same as the main body. Even observation Haki can't distinguish the real from the fake. At this time, in the living room, in front of Luffy's eyes, 3 appeared, and with his knowledge, he couldn't tell which one was the main body and which one was the avatar. The fruit after awakening, every day is very powerful. Luffy said with emotion, suddenly had a bold idea in his heart. 1 robin is a piece of happiness, 3 robins, isn't that 3 pieces of happiness? As if he understood the meaning in his eyes, Luo Guan couldn't help chuckling. Luffy, what's interesting on your mind? Nothing. After that, Nami brought Luo to the living room. Luffy also gave Nami one. Thunderfruit's awakening is also nothing special, similar to Vivi. On the other hand, Trafalgar Law was stunned. Didn't they say, this is a very precious thing, or, I only have one? Precious is true, a pure is fooling him. The head of the straw hat, what do you want me for? He helped. Asked the forehead, it's his self-indulgence. Has Katakuri been honest these days? Nothing unusual. Then inform him and prepare to send him back to see his mother. Luffy grinned and said, as a messenger, take my letter and send it to Cake Island. Breaking into the territory of the 4 emperors alone, in the past, he would not have dared to be so reckless. But now that the fruit has awakened, he has been familiarizing himself with and developing new moves these days, and he also has the confidence to do 2 moves with 4 emperors. I see, when are we leaving? Now. Luo led the way. He didn't bring too many subordinates, only 2 people, 1 bear. After taking his own polar diving number at the port, he headed towards Cake Island. The speed of the submarine was very fast, and with the help of the permanent pointer, it reached the waters of Todo Land the next day. But as soon as it entered the territorial waters of the 4 emperors, it was discovered by a patrolling scout ship. The scout ship is an egg tart-shaped boat, unmanned, with artillery on board. After Luo's submarine surfaced, dozens of scout ships surrounded him. Then, a bigger pirate ship sailed over deck. A middle-aged man with a slender figure and a pointed face and heavy makeup, holding a huge candy cane, squinted his eyes and looked at the polar diving in the distance. It's the flag of the Straw Hat, Lord Perospero, the subordinate behind him said quickly. He. That's the captain of Straw Hat Division 4, the captain of the Heart Pirates, Trafalgar Law. Charlotte Perospero stretched out her long tongue, licked the candy cane in her hand, and snorted. It should be the envoy sent for the trade. That kid in the straw hat at least knows a little bit about the sea, the etiquette of thieves. The Straw Hat Pirates, already known as the Four Emperors, will meet with their Big Mom pirates. It is the most basic etiquette to send an envoy to inform. It's not okay to make a phone call, maybe it's being monitored by Marine. Bring the boat over there. Yes. Soon, 2 ships, one large and one small, stopped side by side. I'm Charlotte Perospero, the leader of the Big Mom Pirates, Minister of Sweets of the Kingdom of Toto Land. After registering his name, Perospero sneered and said, Captain of the Straw Hat Team 4, what are you doing here? Delivery. Luo stood on the deck and spoke calmly. Send a letter. I can't let you in, dare to break into us. Perospero was about to have a showdown, but the phone bug rang suddenly. After connecting, Charlotte Linlin's voice came. Let him come and see me. Yes, Mom. Perospero had no choice but to give up, snorted softly, and said, You come alone, and the others stay on board. Bibo, Paijin, Sha-Chi, the 3 of you stay here. Luo jumped lightly and onto the opposite boat. Be careful, Captain. Luo waved his hand. The 3 watched their captain enter the Toto Land Kingdom. In no time, Cake Island. Luo met 4 Emperors Big Mom in a hall full of sweetness. And, standing beside Big Mom, there are many leaders of the 4 Emperors Regiment. More than a dozen strong men, both men and women. If it was before, he might not be able to beat any of them. Mama. You are Trafalgar Law? Charlotte Linlin's huge body was sitting on the queen's seat, her head was close, her bloodshot eyeballs. He stared at the messenger in front of him. First meet. Before Luo finished speaking, conquerors rolled towards him. Charlotte Linlin grinned and said coldly, I'll give you a chance to break away from the Straw Hat Pirates and come under my mother's command. Otherwise, you get out of this room. Luo was silent. Think of the awakening fruit given to him by the Straw Hat Master. Immediately laughed disdainfully. I'm the same 4 emperors, why should I change places? I'm sorry, Big Mom, I'm the captain of the 4th Division of the Straw Hat Thai Fleet. If you want to fight, I will accompany you to the end. Facing Big Mom's downfall, Luo was very calm. The situation that was expected before coming. Charlotte Linlin stared at him without saying a word. The many cadres beside him raised their eyebrows unexpectedly, showing a little admiration for Luo's courage. Under the pressure of my mother's conquerors, I can still keep calm. In this sea, I can be regarded as a character. Will Mom use soul spells? Some people thought, but they vetoed themselves immediately. The other party is a messenger, Mom should not will do such a thing. Pirates also speak morally. It's like when 2 countries are at war, if they don't kill each other. As long as Luo didn't take the initiative to provoke, Charlotte Linlin would have no position to do anything. It wasn't the Straw Hats who made an embarrassing move, but herself. Mama. Nice guts. Suddenly, Charlotte Linlin withdrew her cold-blooded gaze, and the conquerors that filled the hall also withdrew. This is a letter from our Straw Hat family. Luo looked calm, and took out the letter Luffy gave him from his pocket. A woman with a height of 4 or 5 meters took 2 steps forward, took the letter, and handed it to Big Mom. She is one of the 4 senior cadres of the Big Mom Pirates, and Charlotte Smoothie, the 4 dessert generals. Mother. The letter was not opened. After Charlotte Linlin got it, she tore a hole and took out a piece of paper. Glancing down, Charlotte Linlin's face suddenly turned ugly. What an arrogant brat. Crushing the letter into a ball, Charlotte Linlin snorted coldly and said, Give him the phone bug. Yes, Mom. A small white phone bug was sent to Luo, and then Charlotte Linlin said, Anti-tapping bug, you contact the Straw Hat now. Hearing this, Luo immediately dialed the number. At the same time, Elegia, the castle, the banquet hall. There is a long table in the big banquet hall that has been tidied up. Luffy sat at one end of the long table, facing the direction of the door. The 2 sides are divided into men and women, following the principle of men on the left and women on the right, and the seats are full of people. Mr. 3 brewed black tea and delivered cups of Earl Grey to everyone. As for the black tea, it really has to be Earl Grey. Grandpa Luffy, what do you think of the taste this time? He stood aside like a waiter. Luffy took a sip of black tea. I have to admit that Gal Dino's tea-making skills have grown faster than his strength. This is probably his core competitiveness in the Straw Hats. If I spent the time studying black tea on cultivation, I wouldn't be able to know hockey by now. Just thinking about it, the phone bug on the table rang. 3. Luffy didn't bother to do anything, and quietly sipped the black tea. Mr. 3 picked up the receiver immediately. Luo's voice came from the opposite side. Master of the Straw Hats, the letter has been delivered. Thanks for your hard work. Then, the phone bug changed its expression, imitating the tone of the next speaker, and conveyed the expression vividly. Straw Hat, my son, is Katakuri okay? Katakuri, your mother is calling you, squeak. Katakuri, who is a prisoner, naturally has no place to drink black tea at the table. He stood behind Luffy, and said calmly, Mom, I'm fine. After he finished speaking, Luffy went on to say, Charlotte Linlin, is my order ready? HMPH, come and get it if you have the guts. Last time you went to my mother's place, you won't be afraid to come this time? Hearing this, Luffy just smiled lightly. Low-level provocation, I will come soon. At that time, whether you dare to come up is the question. After speaking, he gestured with his eyes. Mr. 3 immediately put the receiver back. Everyone, the tea has been drunk, the letter has been delivered, it's time to get the red stone. Etiquette has already been set. At the same time as the voice fell, the entire island of Elegia began to vibrate slightly, and then slowly left the sea, heading towards the sea area of Todo Land. After the vibration stopped, Uta, who was lying lazily on the table, suddenly regained some energy. Will it take a long time? How about I sing a song for everyone? New era. As he spoke, he sang first, without waiting for others to answer, and regardless of whether others wanted to hear it or not. The corner of Moria's mouth twitched, and she put her hands on her chest, showing a disgusted expression. Perona listened to the song carefully with full expectation. Robin, who was reading quietly, showed a hint of helplessness. Luffy suddenly felt drowsy, immediately put down the black tea, rested his cheek with one hand, and slowly closed his eyes. When it opened again, it was still the grand banquet hall, but there was no one around. What are you doing pulling me into the world of songs? Colorful musical notes flashed in front of him, and Uta appeared in front of him with a click. It's boring. Uda walked to Luffy and sat down, and said lively, do you still remember that song when you were young? As a child? Where does the wind go? Luffy recalled, it was kind of sad. What's so sad about this song? It's obviously a very gentle song. Uda puffed up her cheeks, and said angrily, I'll sing it to you now, this time, please listen to it carefully. Only this song, I want to sing it to you alone. Why don't you ask me if I want to hear? With a helpless face, Luffy pulled him into the virtual space just to sing him a song alone, or a sad song. Before Uta could speak, Luffy pulled him from the chair and pulled him into his arms. Why? Uta was still brewing emotions when he was suddenly interrupted from casting spells. Luffy smirked. Change the song. What? Uta opened her eyes wide, then blushed and felt a hand slip through her short skirt. Just this song. At the same time, the real world, the grand ballroom. Uta, who was singing, suddenly got stuck. Kaya, who was appreciating the song carefully, blinked her eyes, looked at Uta beside her, and asked doubtfully. Miss Uta, the song is very nice, why don't you sing it? Uta sat there, his face flushed slightly, and his legs were clamped tightly and rubbing against each other. What is this bastard doing? Staring in embarrassment, she sat in the main seat, resting her cheek with one hand, and seemed to be resting with her eyes closed, but she was actually Luffy who bullied her in the world of songs. Although she was a little angry, she couldn't help feeling a little irritated when she was doing something that only the two of them knew about under the watchful eyes of everyone. I'll take a break, Brook, you can sing a song for everyone. As he said that, he immediately buried his head under the table, hiding his expression that was about to be overwhelmed. Moisturized. On the other side, Cake Island. Charlotte Linlin asked to remove the white phone bug, and squinted at Luo. Guests should be treated well. Smoothie, because you have to inform the kitchen to prepare desserts. Yes, Mom. After that, Luo was taken to a restaurant. Looking at the table full of sweets, he doesn't want to eat them at all, who knows if they are poisonous. The cadres of Big Mom were all around him staring at him, so he could only bite the bullet and eat a few mouthfuls. The taste is surprisingly good. Until a few hours later, more than 300 were downloaded. Cake Island suddenly began to rain. It's hot. What is this rain? Hot water. Hey, look, what is that? Outside the cake castle, countless people looked up at the sky. The dark clouds that appeared at no time covered the sun. The pattering rain that fell from the clouds had a strangely high temperature. And above that dark cloud, there seemed to be a certain behemoth. It's an island. Charlotte Smoothie walked out of the castle, her knowledge spread to the sky, and she detected the breath of many strong people at once. Go and inform Mom that the Straw Hat crew is here. Straw Hat Luffy. Everyone was shocked and immediately went to report to Big Mom. After a while, Charlotte Linlin brought many subordinates to the outside of the castle, accompanied by the envoy Luo. At this time, the island had already broken through the clouds, just like junctions suspended in the Cake Island. The power of lion fruit? What do you mean? Suspend an island over our heads? Dismount? If the transaction fails, will an island be smashed immediately? It's really a rise. The cadres all looked ugly. Charlotte Linlin reached out to catch a few drops of rain. When the rain fell on her palm, it carried high temperature. But a little bit of temperature is obviously nothing. This is the color of knowledge. In this rain, there is hockey of color of knowledge. Charlotte Linlin's complexion sank. Is this investigating the layout of her island? Suddenly, a piece of land floated down from the floating sky island. A floating stone about 100 meters wide fell from the sky and landed in front of everyone. On the stone, there is also a sound shell. HMPH, what trick are you playing? Charlotte Linlin picked up the sound shell and pressed it. Immediately a voice came from within. I'm here, do you dare to come up? It was the voice of the Straw Hat. Charlotte Linlin laughed angrily, and crushed the sound shell with a snap. It really is an arrogant brat, bring him along. Elegia, the banquet hall. Luffy slowly opened his eyes. The first thing she looked at after waking up was Uta. The girl was now limp into a puddle of mud, lying motionless on the table. Let you have nothing to pull me into the world of songs. Luffy thought amusedly in his heart. The tactile sense of the ability user is interlinked. Whatever he experiences in the world of songs, all the feelings will be completely fed back to the main body. For Uta, it was probably a very lucid dream. Uda, are you feeling unwell? Do you want to lie down for a while? He said solemnly. Uda glared at him angrily. Rather than lying down for a while, she wants to take a bath now, it's so sticky and uncomfortable. But the guests are here, you'd better hold on for a while. Luffy made a joke. Hearing this, everyone present cheered up one after another, and looked out the door in unison. 4 Emperors Charlotte Linlin, leading a group of cadres, walked in with great momentum. Straw Hat, you're here so fast. His eyes swept over everyone present, and men and women were clearly distinguished. Suddenly, a wave of conquerors' hockey enveloped the crowd. Luffy calmly picked up the black tea and sipped it gracefully. In that split second, Zoro grinned, and the same conquerors sparked instantly. 2 forces of fight broke out in the hall. Boom. The tables and chairs in the grand banquet hall, the tea on the table, the large chandelier above the head, the paintings on the wall, everything is shaking. The many cadres who followed Big Mom were shocked in their hearts. The same conquerors as Mom. Impossible. Evenly matched. That guy is the pirate hunter, Roronoa Zoro. Everyone was palpitating. It's just unbelievable that one of the captains under his command has this level of hockey. But the most incredible person is Katakuri. Others don't know, but he watched Zoro awaken with his own eyes. Zoro can awaken, he is at least 80% responsible for it. It hasn't been long since the night of awakening. Why did it reach such an incredible level in such a short period of time? What's going on? Katakuri thought dully. Charlotte Linlin's complexion sank. Her conquerors was unable to break through the opponent, and she looked deeply at the swordsman with green algae head, because her heart was shocked no less than Katakuri. I wanted to come to the door to show off my power, but I was shocked by myself instead. Have you had enough trouble? Suddenly, Luffy smiled and said, Zoro, that's a guest, not an enemy, at least not now. Conquerors pulled back abruptly. Zoro picked up the bottle and took a sip. I thought they were here for a fight. As the two sang together, Junluo Linlin's expression became even worse. However, let's bear with it for the time being. She was suddenly a little confused about the strength of the Straw Hats. It is also said in the news that the members of the Straw Hats are not as good as other 4 emperors. What is this green algae head? Please sit down. Luffy chuckled lightly and said, 3, serve tea to the guests. Charlotte Linlin walked to the long table without saying a word. Her son helped her pull out the chair, and then she sat down. He said coldly, you don't need tea, Straw Hat. Get started, deal. Cake Island. The shape of the island is like a multi-layered cake, and the cake castle in the center is the largest cake tower. On the top floor of the cake castle, there is a platform full of sweetness and cream. On weekdays, it is the place where Charlotte Linlin holds tea parties, and at this time, a large number of Charlotte family members gather. Has the meeting already started? Katakuri-san, are you okay? The person who spoke looked like an old witch, with a big, red, hooked nose. Charlotte Bree, the 8th daughter of Charlotte Linlin, is 41 years old and has a 91-year-old appearance. Looking up at the floating sky island in the sky, his tone was quite worried. Bree, in case something happens up there, You should bring someone to support you as soon as possible. Charlotte Smoothie sat on a white dining table, with her legs crossed, and said to Bree, Mum doesn't bring many people there, and once the transaction is completed, who knows what will happen. Will you be too nervous? One of the 34 ministers, the Minister of Nuts, Charlotte Armand, spoke in a cold tone. She wore a very large hat, more than 3 times the width of her body, and held a burning cigarette in her mouth, and her light green eyes were always sullen. Her shape is very similar to Master Bachi. She is a female swordsman of the Snakehead tribe, and she wears the famous sword, White Fish, on her waist. Don't underestimate the Straw Hat. How crazy that guy is. Have you seen it on the news? Smoothie's tone was serious. Even going to the Holy Land to slaughter celestial dragons can do such a thing. What else is the other party afraid to do? Didn't Mom want to marry him? There shouldn't be a fight, right? Charlotte Flamp yelled angrily. How dare you take Brother Katakuri captive? You are such a hateful guy. This woman is the 36th daughter of Charlotte Linlin, who is only 13 years old at this time. Claiming to be the most popular girl in the 643 family, she has the cute appearance of an ordinary little girl, and at the same time has a spoiled and willful temper. Charlotte Smoothie glanced at her and shook her head secretly. For this meeting, my mother has 2 purposes. The first and the highest priority is naturally to get Katakuri back smoothly. As the highest masterpiece of the Charlotte family and the person with the strongest combat power under her mother, she must be rescued no matter what. The second is marriage. Recently, the family has gathered a lot of information about Straw Hat Luffy. This man's combat power is undoubtedly at the 4 Emperors level, and he is still very young, only 17 years old. No one can imagine how far he will grow in the future. Being able to marry is naturally good, but wanting to control this kind of person is completely impossible. Mom herself didn't have such confidence, and who to choose to marry is also a huge problem. The last time this man came to make trouble, he even proposed such shameless words as, let him choose a concubine if he gets naked, and didn't take others seriously. In short, Charlotte Smoothie is not optimistic about marriage at all. Nowadays, unmarried daughters in the family must have similar age, good looks, and certain strength at the same time. There is no such person at all. These 3 conditions are indispensable. After all, unlike the previous marriage partner, the other party is the new 4 emperors. It is impossible to succeed in launching a marriage partner casually. Moreover, the essence of marriage is the combination of interests. Do the Straw Hats and their Charlotte family have any common interests? No, not to mention that it is completely impossible without the help of interests. At least 99% of it has been done. Thinking of this, Charlotte Smoothie took a deep breath and said, Anyway, don't be careless. Once you find out what's going on, everyone will immediately follow me into the mirror world. Grand Banquet Hall. Charlotte Linlin is seated. The Straw Hats only prepared 1 chair, and the rest of the Charlotte family members who came with them could only stand. Mr. 3 served her a glass of Earl Grey. You don't need tea, Straw Hat. Let's get started, deal. She spoke coldly. At the same time, he was also calmly observing the members of the Straw Hats. There are a lot of people. Aside from the green algae-headed swordsman with conquerors, it's worth noting the 2 former Shichibukai. Hai Sha Jinbei, Gecko Moria. For the former, she originally wanted to recruit her under her command, but was interrupted midway, and the Fishmen Island had already been incorporated into the territory of the Straw Hats. While she was observing, Luffy and others were also looking at her and her subordinates. Charlotte Linlin brought only 5 people, 5 sons. Luffy didn't know whether to admire her bravery, or to think arrogantly that he didn't dare to do anything. However, this person's strength is quite impressive. Charlotte Cracker, one of the 4 stars of dessert, a paramecia biscuit fruit-capable person, has a bounty of 860 million Baileys. Charlotte Snug, one of the 4 generals, has a bounty of 600 million Baileys. Charlotte Perisparrow, Minister of Sweets, with a bounty of 700 million Baileys. Charlotte Daifuku, Minister of Beans, offers a bounty of 300 million Baileys. Charlotte Owen, Minister of Baking, has a bounty of 300 million Baileys. It's a pity that there are fewer belts. Thinking of this, Luffy took out a heart wrapped in a jelly cube from his pocket, put it in his hand and tossed it lightly. I'm so impatient, Katakuri, you can go back to your mother. Katakuri glanced at him, immediately walked behind Big Mom, and whispered at the same time. That's my heart. Without any unnecessary explanation, Charlotte Linlin immediately understood and gave her eldest son a look. Charlotte Perisparrow immediately stepped forward and took out a rolled-up paper from behind. Straw Hat Luffy, the rubbings you want. Saying so, he opened the opening book, showed it to everyone, and quickly took it back. Luffy looked at Robin. Robin nodded, and said, I only saw a little bit, and the part one saw is indeed an ancient text. Hearing this, Big Mom snorted coldly. Do you think my old lady will lie to you with fake ones? Who would do such a shameful thing? Stop looking down on people, Straw Hat. As expected of the four emperors, very moral. Luffy smiled. Whoever believes such words is an idiot. He, Straw Hat, you give us your heart first, and I'll give you the rubbings right away, Charlotte Perisparrow said with a half-smile. After a pause, he added, since you know the red stone, you should understand that this kind of thing is only useful if you collect all 4 copies, so we will never go back on our word, you can rest assured to give me your heart first. Hearing this, Luffy immediately threw his heart towards the other party. Snapped. After Charlotte Perisparrow caught it, she was still a little confused. Really give it? Should there be any trap? Is this really Katakuri's heart? He glanced at Katakuri and couldn't help asking as if confirming. Moria smiled strangely. He, you can pinch it, if it hurts, that's it. This is the most direct way to confirm the authenticity. This fire onion is good or bad? Usopp laughed and chimed in. Luffy is not the kind of person who will lie to you with a fake heart, absolutely not. I promise you in the name of Usopp. Who are you? Charlotte Perisparrow glanced at the long nose, then turned to Katakuri and said. Is this real? Katakuri didn't know, he could only say in a deep voice, pinch it. Hearing what he said, Perisparrow squeezed decisively. Katakuri's face turned pale, and he felt a piercing pain, and immediately clutched the vacant heart. It is true, he immediately took the heart back and stuffed it into his chest. Feeling the powerful beating sound again, Katakuri breathed a sigh of relief. You only know how to cherish it when you lose it. Heart, you are finally back. Mama. Very creditable, Straw Hat. Big Mom grinned. Now that you have no bargaining chip, aren't you afraid that my old lady will turn her face on the spot? As soon as the words came out, Zoro grabbed the hilt immediately. Bartolomeo made the movement to activate the ability immediately. Usopp also took out his slingshot. Moria's shadow quickly spread out, heading towards the souls of Charlotte's people. Almost instantly, the men all put on a fighting stance. In the same way, the 6 sons behind Big Mom also made a gesture of vigilance for the first time. The hall, which had a very dignified atmosphere, has turned into a powder keg that explodes at a touch of time following her words. Luffy raised his hand to signal everyone to relax. As the leader of a large force, the price of not keeping promises is often delayed payment. You can overdraft, you have such an option. Of course my old lady keeps her word, Big Mom snorted. Perisparrow put the redstone rubbings on the table. He, our Big Mom pirates will not do such tasteless things. Things are passed to Robin. This mature big sister couldn't wait to open it, and read it with great interest. After a while, she raised her head and smiled at Luffy. It's true, Luffy, if they can fake it so that I can't see it, then they should have someone who can read ancient characters. Nico Robin. Perisparrow licked his lips. O'Hara's orphan, we don't know what is written on it. Now that the first transaction has been made, I have a new proposal here. He glanced at his mother and said, we want your translated content, for this reason, we Big Mom pirates can ally with your Straw Hat pirates. Alliance? Luffy was surprised and couldn't help looking at Big Mom. Charlotte Linlin grinned and said, Straw Hat, you are a very courageous person, my mother likes you very much. Do you also want to become One Piece? It is not easy to collect 4 redstones. My hand I got this piece here more than 20 years ago, but I haven't found any more until now. So, you want to ally with me and collect redstone together, because my lady archaeologist can translate texts. After forming an alliance, for the common benefit, we can also marry and form a closer relationship. To this, Luffy smiled without saying a word. Big Mom couldn't even dream of it, he knew exactly where the 3 stones were, and he only needed to find the 4th one. If it doesn't work, he can ask Rayleigh directly. Therefore, the seemingly favorable alliance does not mean much to him. Not to mention getting married. The target doesn't have to be you. Don't you have many subordinates? Choose a cronies. Charlotte Linlin narrowed her eyes and said. Luffy is puzzled by her obsession with marriage. He looked at the male members under his command. Zoro, Sanji, Usopp, Johnny, Joseph, Bartolomeo, Chopper, Frankie, Brook. The person swept by his gaze suddenly shuddered. Luffy, you know me, I'm not a womanizer. Sanji lit a cigarette, his face full of melancholy. With the appearance of Big Mom, her daughter, would wake up from a dream. Luffy, you know me. My dream is to become a brave warrior at sea. Before that, I will never get married. Brother Luffy, you know me. Luffy, I'm a reindeer. Yo ho 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 ho. Skeleton, can you, pervert, calling me? Looking at a group of men playing tricks, Big Mom's face turned black. Back then, when I was young, my mother was also a famous beauty in the sea. Straw Hats are fine, but these subordinates also despise her daughter. Ha 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 ha. Luffy couldn't help laughing, his gaze finally rested on Jinbei. Jinbei was startled and dumbfounded. This old man is a murloc. Jinbei, how about your co-captain Aladdin? Luffy suggested with a smile, there is also a mermaid over there at Big Mom. In the original book, the two were originally a couple. I remember the name was Charlotte Poo or something. Although it is a mermaid, it is a pity that it was born by Big Mom. I can only say that I understand everything. It is not a species of mermaids from the Fishman Island. Charlotte Praline. Parasparrow chuckled twice. Mom's 21-year-old girl, who is only 27 years old this year, is very suitable. Mermaid. Sanji's hair stood up suddenly. What's the matter, you want to replace Aladdin? Luffy laughed. Yes, I agree. Sanji glanced at Big Mom again and shut up on the spot. I'm just surprised that Big Mom has a mermaid daughter, and doesn't want to take away love. The women on the other side of the long table watched this scene speechlessly. I even sympathize with Big Mom from the bottom of my heart, being disgusted by this group of men. Mama. Straw Hat, since you agreed, let's get ready for the wedding. Charlotte Linlin was very happy. She married another daughter, who was still a useless daughter. In exchange for the alliance of the Straw Hats, the business was profitable no matter what. Compared with the things paid, the gains are too great. Nico Robin's translation ability, Straw Hat Crew's combat power. The two of them, the four emperors, are in an alliance. Even if they attack naval headquarters, they might be able to win. Which day do you want to be married? She smiled with satisfaction. Get married, you have to ask Aladdin himself. Luffy chuckled. However, before that, to celebrate our alliance, let my little diva sing a song for everyone. Uda sings a festive song. Yes, Uda immediately stood up and faced Big Mom and others with a smile. Diva? Everyone in the Charlotte family was a little surprised. They didn't expect that the guy in the straw hat was quite romantic. Only Katakuri had a bad premonition in his heart. Uda cleared her throat, and the song of the first pirate sang slowly from her mouth. As long as you are a pirate, you have heard the song. When the humming of yo ho 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 sounded, everyone relaxed their vigilance. Thinking too much? Katakuri also relaxed his vigilance. And at this moment, the ability of the song fruit is activated. In an instant, including Big Mom himself, several members of the Charlotte family felt a burst of drowsiness. With a plop, they fell to the ground one after another. So easy. Uda laughed and stopped singing, turned to look at Luffy, and said as if claiming credit, pirates are all idiots. How do you scold your own people? Luffy rolled her eyes and said lightly. Luo, I took their hearts. Is this the end? Usopp stood up, walked to the seven Charlotte, squatted down, and stretched out his hand to check their breath. Sleeping peacefully, ha 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 ha, the four Emperor's pirates are nothing special, they were completely fooled by my acting skills. Stupid, it's Ms. Uda who is amazing. Sanji patted Jinbei on the shoulder, and said in a melancholy tone, don't worry too much, it's just a marriage, that's a mermaid, even if it's the daughter of Big Mom, she won't be ugly though. Well, it should be like this. It's not the old man who wants to get married. Fatty Blue Jinbei sighed. Ha 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 ha. Uda proudly put her hands on her hips, which made her crazy. What is Four Emperors Big Mom? It's useless to predict the future. As long as you hear it, the ability of the song fruit can be activated at any time. The only way to resist is to plug your ears before you hear it. Thanks a lot. Luffy put down the black tea, got up and rubbed Shogi's head. In the original plan, not now. It is a marriage between the two parties. When the wedding is held, Uda's ability is used to wipe out all the people attending the wedding. Just a temporary change of mind. As long as you control the key people, it will be enough. If there is any change in the middle, it will become troublesome instead. Of course, the most important thing is that Big Mom has too many children. 43 husbands, 39 daughters, and 46 sons, a total of 129 people. Several of them have not yet been born. But to control so many people, everyone has a heart, and it is a trouble just to distinguish which heart belongs to which person. Instead of this, it is better to keep an eye on the key figures, and control the entire Big Mom pirate group by controlling the top Big Mom and some of the main combat forces. Luffy, you said before that Big Mom has 2 historical texts in total. At this time, Robin put away the rubbings, looked up at Luffy, and said, in addition to the text of the history of the road signs here, there should be another one, right? Nami and the others have already helped you find it, and there will be results soon. Luffy smiled. There are about 30 historical texts, including 4 Red Road sign historical texts and 9 intelligence historical texts. Up to now, Robin has seen at least 5 or 6 pieces, and completed 3/6. I remember that in the original story, Jinbei also found a piece and gave it to Big Mom. Jinbei, do you know where there is such a historical text? He asked casually. Jinbei seriously recalled for a moment, shaking his head. Afterwards, you can lead your 5th team to search for nearby islands, please. The old man understands. With Big Mac 1, the atmosphere in the 7-person sleeping hall became more relaxed. Before the plan is successful, no one dares to 100% guarantee that it will be so smooth. In fact, it went so smoothly, it can only be said that Gurgur fruit is too outrageous. Without knowing the means of confrontation, it is completely a terrifying ability, like seeing a kill for the first time. No. Suddenly, Luo stood up and said solemnly, even if Big Mom is in a coma, her body is also unconsciously emitted by the steel balloon. Haki, I can't move his heart. He threw the hearts of the remaining 6 people on the table, and he was helpless against the final Big Mom. Steel balloon? Brook came over, drew his sword and stabbed Big Mom's arm. The result was unbelievable, and it couldn't be pierced at all. Woo, what to do, Luffy? Luffy naturally knows about Big Mom's naturally strong body. When this woman was 5 years old, she was just a little monster, and the big knife of the giant slashed at her body but was broken. However, no matter how strong her body is, it is meaningless in front of Op fruit. It's not her monster body that stops Law from having her heart removed, but Haki, who unconsciously protects her. Just like Luffy will release knowledge while sleeping, even if Big Mom is in a coma, his spirit is thrown into the world of songs, and his body in reality is still entangled with Haki of the 4 Emperors level. Luo frowned and said, I can use the awakening technique to try to kill her, but if the heart is removed, I can't do anything about this kind of Haki. Don't worry, little problem. Luffy sat back down again, and said to Uta, send me in. Weaken that woman's spirit a little, and Haki will naturally be weakened accordingly. In fact, there is another way, like, picture of a nun. But this thing is in the cake castle below. Instead of looking for it, it is better to directly enter the world of songs and beat Big Mom. Soon, Luffy slowly closed his eyes. Cake Castle, the topmost large platform. So quiet. Smoothie crossed his arms and sat on the chair, shaking his legs uneasy. It's been almost half an hour, and there's no news from Tien. There is no sound of fighting, which means the meeting is still going on. If it's just trading Ruomoto and Katakuri, it will be over soon. It's not over now. Is it a stalemate on the marriage group? She intends to let go of her knowledge to investigate, but she is afraid of causing unnecessary misunderstandings, so she will fight instead. Can only wait for the result here. Let me tell you, Bu Lei, Tien Jien uses your ability to observe secretly. Huang Lanpei, who has a delicate and willful personality, suggested. I just tried. Bree was also a little uneasy. The old witch's face was full of anxiety. There is no mirror at all where they meet. Paramecia mirror fruit ability user. Capable users can create a stable space, the mirror world. Through the mirror, you can appear in a specific place, hide in the mirror, and observe the world outside the mirror. The disadvantage is that it will not isolate the sound, and it will also be seen by the person opposite the mirror. As early as when Big Mom and others first went up, she had already tried to sneak in to investigate. But the Straw Hats seemed to know her ability, and the place where they met, not to mention a serious mirror, didn't even have a thing that could barely be called a mirror. She didn't dare to sneak out from the mirror, for fear of being discovered by the enemy's knowledge. Would you like to make a call? She thought for a long time before proposing to everyone. No matter what you do, there may be uncontrollable consequences, so let's wait a little longer. That bastard in the straw hat is really cunning. Deliberately placing the meeting place in the sky has made our series of preparations all in vain. Mom will be fine, you are too nervous. Some people were very calm, showing the margins of the 4 Emperors group. Suddenly, Smoothie frowned. He got up and walked to a part of the platform, looking down at the floor under his feet. Illusion? Are there mice? At the same time. Inside the castle, in front of a huge iron gate, there are many soldiers with handles. And where the soldiers couldn't see, a ghost came through the wall. That's right here. Hehehehe, it's easy to sneak in. Perona smiled slyly, looking up at the situation inside. On the 2nd floor of the house, there are 2 historical texts placed behind the iron gate, one of which is red. Ha. This time will definitely count as a punishment. Spiritual body. Perona sighed, staring at the two historical texts and recorded silently. And above her head, in several corners of the room, two monitoring phone bug eyes scanned back and forth, and soon discovered her existence. The picture here was transmitted to the monitoring room immediately. Afterwards, Smoothie above the castle received the contact immediately. Sure enough, a mouse came in. She snorted coldly and said, "I'll go and have a look, you guys stay here and guard." After finishing speaking, go downstairs immediately. In the long corridor, there is a red carpet. Even if it is a carpet, it is edible chocolate. Smoothie paused, squinted his eyes. A pool of moving water suddenly fell from the ceiling and slowly condensed into a human form. Logia. Smoothie was slightly taken aback. Vivi said with a smile, "We are not here to fight, just to confirm the authenticity of the rubbings." Shushui fruit. No, Rain. Smoothie pulled out the long sword behind his back, and said calmly, "I know you, the captain of the 2nd Division of the Straw Hats, the Princess of Alabasta, the woman with a bounty of 100 million Baileys. If you are water, you can only count your luck. No, I'm Paramecia squeezing the fruit." The world of songs. Same for the Grand Ballroom. The only difference is that, apart from the Charlotte 7, there is no other person's breath. Big Mom stared blankly at the empty seats. How is this going? The 6 people behind her also had a confused expression on their faces. In their perception, they don't even know that they have been dragged into the virtual world. Just suddenly, everyone else disappeared. Katakuri covered his forehead, but he couldn't find any abnormalities with his foresight of the future. However, the knowledgeable Color did not find anything abnormal, but his intuition told him that something was wrong. "Mom, be careful. There are a lot of experiencers in the Straw Hat crew." Katakuri. What's going on here? Perispero showed his knowledge, but found that there was no one in the castle. I don't know either. The faces of several people became serious, and they slowly gathered towards Big Mom, guarding against any possible situation. Suddenly, on the table in front, a string of colorful notes flashed. The next moment, Straw Hat Luffy appeared in front of everyone. Straw Hat. Big Mom gritted his teeth. What's going on? What do you mean? Please enjoy the song in another place, Luffy said with a smile. Just after finishing speaking, there were 2 strings of colorful notes. UTA and Zoro appeared at the same time. Hello, I'm UTA. UTA greeted Charlotte and the others lively, and said with a smile, "The banquet hall is not suitable for listening to music. Let me show you the stage of your dreams." As she spoke, she clapped her hands lightly. 2 snaps. The world has changed. The banquet hall under everyone's feet, the table in front of them, the chairs under their buttocks, everything was deconstructed by the colorful light. In a blink of an eye, the whole world becomes as bizarre as a fairy tale. Overhead are brightly colored clouds. Under the feet is a shallow layer of seawater just below the ankles. Everyone stood in the sea, and there was an endless, empty world in all directions. And in midair, UTA flew up and onto a big stage. With one hand on her hip, she twisted her little buttocks, showing her dancing posture confidently. Next, please enjoy the presentation brought by UTA. New Era. A headset appeared on her head. The singing came from the loudspeaker in front of the stage. The faces of the 7 members of Big Mom were ugly. Luffy was speechless. It's so lively. Are you going to add BGM to the battle? Zoro grinned and said, "Let's fight anyway, Luffy, hurry up." As he said that, he had already drawn 2 knives, and quickly ran towards Big Mom. Double swordsmanship. Before he got close, Katakuri immediately took out the Earth Dragon, stabbed out with a spear, and caught Zoro's footsteps. "What do you mean, Roronoa? He looked bad." "Uda," Zoro yelled. The next moment, under his feet, and under the feet of Big Mom, the seawater suddenly surged up, pushing the 2 of them to the sky. After climbing to a height of tens of meters, the 2 pillars of seawater spread out like pancakes, forming a huge platform in the sky. Mom. Katakuri's complexion changed, and he wanted to go up immediately. However, the next moment, boom, a terrifying conqueror's haki fell on him and the other 5 sons in an instant. Luffy laughed and said, "Don't move. What a haki." Everyone's pupils shrank suddenly, their expressions were dull, and cold sweat overflowed from their foreheads. With this level of conqueror's haki, even Marine Vice Admiral would have difficulty keeping calm in front of this man. Air platform. Big Mom realized something was wrong. She said coldly, saying, "Straw Hat, how dare you stop me? Is it singing? Ability activated by singing?" Looking back on everything that happened before, all the weirdness appeared after the girl sang. Song fruit? She has seen the ancient devil fruit picture lottery and heard about this legendary fruit. known to have the power to destroy the world. What you promised before is true. Luffy slowly floated up. Even in the world of songs, his ability is no different from the outside world. It's just a sideshow before the wedding, although there is no interest in forming an alliance, but... After a pause, he said with a light smile, a Four Emperors pirate group is a rare help. Don't say I won't give you a chance, Charlotte Linlin, you can try to break this world. While he was talking, Zoro has launched an attack. The Conquerors is wrapped around the blade, slashing at Charlotte Linlin. HMPH, brat. Do you think this can trap me? Who do you think my old lady is? Big Mom raised a fist and punched it in the face of the slash. Boom, in an instant, black and red lightning erupted, and the collision of the two Conquerors' haki produced shockwaves that caused the seawater within a few kilometers to roll up into the sky. Amid Uda's singing, battle breaks out.